We'll get this right eventually.
What's going on, everybody? This is Whiskey with an Agent. This is the live version of the show. This is episode number 11. Number 11. Man, we've done a lot of shows already.
We have done quite a bit of shows.
No, we've done 10. This is number 11. This one we're going to be talking about home inspections.
And with that said,
yeah,
we actually have our special guest, Marty VanDyke.
Yes.
So, Marty, please tell us who you are, who you work with, what makes you such a professional.
So I am, like they've said, Marty VanDyke. I'm with Super Inspection Pros.
Okay.
We do home inspections. So when you need us for home inspection,
Yeah.
call us.
Did you say your website?
Superinspectionpros.com.
All right.
Excellent. And you can book
Online.
So,
you
online.
can book
Yes.
online.
So you can actually book it online. You don't have to call.
You don't have to,
And book
all
it.
of our Gen Xers, you don't have to talk to nobody.
Right.
Don't
right.
worry. You
Right.
can just
You can
book
stay
it
in your little
online.
hole.
Give us a text.
Right. Nice.
That's awesome.
Um,
It's so funny because I'm actually a millennial, and I was the brunt of the joke, but now I'm actually able to joke on the next
I
generation.
think that's
I'm
the
at
way
the
it
age
goes.
now.
We've earned, like, I'm a millennial too. We've
Yeah.
earned our right to
stripes.
pick on the lower guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we
That's the way
actually
it is.
we got to explore what it was like before cell phones. We got to explore what it's like to have a rotary phone,
Right.
and so like we're right
Yeah.
there, that one generation where it's
mean,
in between.
I didn't have Facebook until I was like 22 years old. And
Holy
I've never
crap.
had Facebook installed on my phone. I'm not for it.
Dang.
You know?
See,
So,
that's millennial.
to each their own.
Yeah,
So-
millennials fully embrace technology, and then there's still a lot of us that
It's just kind of,
we're-
my life is good without it.
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
I'm with that, man. Absolutely. Cheers
Dude.
to that. So,
So-
what are we drinking tonight? We have a plethora
man.
of whiskeys
Well,
right here and around.
So
us.
first off, this is our first in-person live stream.
yeah,
So normally Chris and I do the live streaming from our own house.
Yeah,
So
and
Chris,
and it's because of that. Like,
yeah,
like Jared lives in New Smyrna Beach, and I live in Longwood, which
Right.
is just north of Orlando,
Yeah.
Florida. So it's kind of hard to meet as often, or like as often as we want. So
Right.
we made it
yes,
for this episode.
Yeah.
For you,
A special thank you guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Let's give them a round
yes.
of applause.
Wow. Hey,
They did a lot of work
Yes.
setting this up, guys. It really is a lot. Had I
Hold
have
on.
known,
wait.
we could have went old school, but
Yeah,
There it is. There it is.
Cheers.
I got cheers. I got some loud
Yeah.
applause. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
But guys, really, this is great. Thank you for having me, and it's really going to be nice to just inform our market and our buyer pool and seller
and our
pool
sellers
of
and realtors
yeah.
that be
Yeah.
listening
all
and
the
watching.
things that
Yep.
they don't learn until it's too late, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cheers to that, especially in this
Yeah.
crazy market.
Yeah. Right. So, and that's the most important thing. So not home inspections, but what are we drinking tonight? As you
Yes.
started saying before I so kindly interrupted you.
It's all right.
It's all right.
So we actually have a plethora of Japanese whiskey here. They got Jared's favorite here.
Tagashi.
Japanese
Yes.
blended whiskey.
It's good stuff.
And then I have my favorite Japanese whiskey that I've had before. It's called Nika, whiskey from the barrel. And it is really good. Very, very cool. Definitely highly recommend it.
Yep.
For as strong as it is at 51.4%, it's
Ooh,
so smooth.
buddy.
So smooth.
Dang.
Absolutely smooth. And then you have this other one here. This one's Japanese, isn't it?
No.
this is
That's
actually-
the
excuse me.
Irish whiskey.
Irish whiskey.
Irish.
How you feeling a
Irish.
little Irish? So I actually did 23andMe. You familiar with that? where you
The
do, like,
DNA
the
test.
DNA
thing?
test?
Yeah.
It turns out that I'm actually 94% British and Irish.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It explains the reason why I love whiskey so much.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But there's not a single shred of red in me. I don't know.
No.
Interesting.
So, what did you bring?
So I brought the Jeffersons. So a friend gave this to me for my birthday.
Happy birthday. When was your
Um,
birthday?
It was in January.
January?
Yep.
Nice.
January 29th.
Happy birthday.
So yeah, I love it. It's great. It's good, smooth bourbon. I guess I'm not a
Yeah.
whiskey snob, so
No.
I
Uh-huh.
use them interchangeably. Scotch, bourbon, whiskey.
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
same here.
It is what it is.
Yeah, we're not snobs.
That's a
We're
bourbon,
just
actually.
enjoyers.
Yes.
Like, we enjoy
Yeah.
the whiskey.
Although somebody told me we were drinking some whiskey and the guy asked, and this guy is a whiskey like
Connoisseur.
whiskey men. Yes. And he asked me, he's like, do you know how much, like when you you drop some water in it,
Mhm.
and he said, do you know how long you're supposed to swirl your whiskey? And I was like, I have no idea. And I'm really like thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, there's got to be some scientific thing. And he looks at me. He's like, he's swirling his, and he's like, it's only just until somebody sees you. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's funny.
he's like, because most people, they think doing this. I mean, it's not like wine. You're not
fancy,
aging
yeah.
it. You're not, you're not aerating
It's
it
like
and
the
stuff.
work is
but-
already done. You just
Right.
gotta drink it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because with wine you have to like aerate it for the most part.
Right,
at least
right,
with reds, I
right.
believe. So yeah, like so when I see people do that, I'm like, okay, I guess
Yeah.
it means something, but I guess it doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like you give it like one little swirl after you put the water in there,
Mhm.
but it's not like, a lot of people, they just keep doing it because it makes them seem like,
Like
Sophisticated.
they're
That's right.
fancy.
that's right.
Sauvé, or like what do you
So-
When
call
I'm
it?
drinking, the
Sauvé.
last thing I want to be is fancy.
Right.
You know.
Well, and then if you drink enough, you're not fancy at all.
Well, yeah.
No, you're exact opposite.
It goes way down.
You're eating the floor.
Yes. So we talked about what we're drinking. I want to know what everybody else that's watching this, and if you're listening to it later, what are you guys drinking? Post it in the comments. I'm curious to
We already
see
have Monica reaching out and saying, "Hey, gentlemen,
what's
hello,
going
madam.
on, Monica.
Monica.
What are you drinking, Monica?"
Yeah, let us know. So here we are.
Further ado, episode 11 with an inspector. What should we
Yes.
talk about?
Oh my goodness.
Anything but inspections. I mean, that
no.
would be great.
It's
I had
the
a
last
long
thing
day.
you want to talk
Had
about.
a long day today.
All right.
So,
How many inspections did you have today?
so I had an insurance day today. So, it was about 6 properties with a total of maybe 9 inspections, 9 reports, 1 mids, 4 points.
Okay.
That's typical though.
For
You
an
know,
insurance day?
An insurance day, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
What
we have to meet a high volume of demand. So
Mhm.
a home inspection eats up a lot of time, but we'll devote a day to kind of decompress as an inspector. It's a
Mhm.
lot of absorption that you have to do in a short amount of time.
And then write reports,
Yeah,
like pages and pages.
oh
long.
yeah, they're like 60 pages. So
Yeah.
these days are good just to kind of decompress and easygoing insurance days.
So
Okay.
the insurance is essentially a short day. And what are some of those insurance like inspections?
So the wind mitts and 4 points.
Okay. And the
the-
different types of inspections.
Yeah.
Right.
The 4 point is the roof, the plumbing,
Mhm.
the electric, the air conditioning.
Okay.
Um,
And those are, for anyone listening, like a 4 point is mandatory for any home that's older than 30 years old at this point.
Right.
Have you
So,
heard anything
yeah.
otherwise?
yeah, and some
Mm.
some agencies or companies require it 10 years. They're all different.
Mhm.
I just go when I'm called. So
Right.
we but yeah, that's the norm is these underwriters want to make sure that they're not writing a hazard basically.
So they're not insuring something that's just going
It's
to.
already
You,
broke.
you know what's funny?
Fall down.
It's so funny that they say the word hazard because it is called hazard insurance.
True. True.
We just slap another name on it called
It's-
homeowner insurance because it's less.
It's-
Was it scary sound?
Right. Yeah, hazard
very
insurance.
Word changey right
Yeah.
now. So.
Yeah. Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
How long is a typical buyer's? If a buyer is buying a home, and how long is that inspection?
It's about 2.5 hours.
And does that vary?
Yeah,
a condo is not
it
going to take 2
varies
hours.
if you have a condo, it's about 1.5 hours. I mean, we try to get as thorough as we can.
Mhm.
But we are very systematic. Whether it's $1 million house or a $80,000 mobile home, the routine is exactly the same. The components are pretty much exactly the same. You got a panel, you got a water heater, you got an AC in it, you got
Mhm.
walls, and you got a roof.
Yeah.
And you
So,
get the grounds itself and everything.
Just some of them take longer to walk around.
That's true. Over like a single wide trailer versus like a 7,000 square foot home.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's true, it's
And
gonna
you know
take a
what?
while.
Sometimes the trailers take longer. They got tiny little crawl spaces that you got to go under.
That's true. You
and,
got to break open a lattice.
all these little nooks and
Right.
crannies.
Mm.
But yeah, it's about 2.5 hours.
Okay. How long have you been doing inspections?
So I started doing I started inspecting homes. Let's say that.
Okay.
And the 2008 range,
Right there in the crash.
right there in the crash.
Oh.
So
you
you've
know,
been doing it
fresh
since
off
then?
the streets,
Holy
right out
crap.
of high school.
Dang.
You thought you
and-
would get into a market that was nice and
Oh,
healthy and
man, I
beautiful,
was just
lots of
getting my
money.
fingers dirty.
Oh.
Boy, talking about these foreclosed houses that have
Right.
been vacant for years and covered in mold and debris everywhere, and you know,
That-
be like your worst nightmare is like an everyday thing.
So
Kinda.
like you
Yeah.
pretty much got dumped straight into the deep
So
end.
yeah, so I did that for 8 years,
Ugh.
and the market was really good.
Yeah.
You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So just
Mhm.
never had to look for anything else.
Mhm.
And then things started bouncing back, and
Your
started
service is no
switching
longer needed.
gears. You know, yeah, you know that well dried, you tap another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much the same thing. We still had to take our photos. We still had to do our computer
Right.
work. So it was a natural transition. Got my home inspector license in 2018, and I've been with Super Inspection Pros.
Ever since.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, it's funny. You know, that whole foreclosure. Keeping Current Matters actually released an article, or I saw it today, saying that comparing with all this talk about another crash occurring, another bubble happening. Well, they pulled up the stats on what the foreclosure rating was, the amount of notices and everything in 2007, 2008 versus now.
Mhm.
During that time, it was just over 1 million for like 3 years straight. And then for the past 2 years here, now present time, it was around 200 to 300,000. Now, what kind of controls that is for everyone listening is essentially what is a mortgage that's backed by the government, such as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, versus a private loan. Now, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they pretty much released a statement warning all lenders that are backed, such as Fannie Mae and everything else, that they are required to reach out to anyone who's in a forbearance, and then make sure we work a repayment structure and not just hit them with a $6,000, $60,000 catch-up bill.
payment, like a balloon payment due.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah. So all these like YouTubers out there that are saying a crash is coming, it's just like it's not going to happen. There's going to be a correction, but it's going to be a slow, gradual correction.
Yeah, because we don't need that. You know.
Yeah, and it wasn't this isn't self-induced. Whereas like back then it was the mortgage industry, as we all know. And so like we're going to be fine.
Yeah,
I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I don't think we're looking at the big recession with the housing market crash like we had before. I think we're stable. We're not writing loans like that was the big thing. Writing loans, people were just like, yeah, I make $500,000 a year. I'm a babysitter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you go.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No verification of income or anything like that.
Right.
So if anybody wants to know like more research or in a fun way in a couple hours, watch The Big Short.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Great movie.
That's a good movie.
Great movie.
Yes, it is.
And so
Yeah.
we're blurry, apparently.
I don't know why we're blurry.
Someone put a fingerprint on that camera lens.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm looking at on our feed here, and
Maybe it's the whiskey.
It depends.
maybe it's the
Yeah.
whiskey.
It depends on the connection.
Are we focused?
Yeah, it's focused on my side. But it's probably the stream either from our end or it could be on their end.
It's clear now.
Yeah. It fluctuates.
Okay.
So
It's like
just
the
have to
market,
go with
Robin.
it. Yeah.
Ups and
But,
downs.
And Monica's drinking wine. Cheers, Monica.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
She said she was drinking something called Educated Guess. It's called Educated Guess.
It's like my home inspection.
Like my home inspection.
I guess there's a story.
You know what?
behind
There's
that
a lot
one.
of truth behind that. So
Oh,
That's so
my
funny.
goodness. All
That's
right.
funny.
All right.
And Robin's having water. I give
All right.
cheers to that.
Hey, that's
Absolutely.
fine. Hey, I got water in my whiskey too,
Me
so it's
too.
all
Yeah.
good.
Cheers,
It's all
y'all.
good.
cheers.
So where were we at?
Well, so home inspection. So I mean, I want to kind of throw out there so as realtors, we have to get certified. So we have to go through some training. We got to go take a test. We got to get
like over
fingerprinting
60
stuff.
hours, and we got to
Right.
get through the federal background and all that stuff by
Yeah.
the state.
So when somebody hires a home inspector, like what are they?
What are they hiring?
Like,
right?
what-
why are they
What's your
home inspectors?
certifications? What background do you have to have?
So It's similar to a real estate license in the fact that you have to do your prerequisites.
Mhm.
I don't remember. It's been over 3 years since I did it, but I think it was like 140, 160 hours. You have to pass the exam from the state.
Yeah.
And then similar to how you guys have a realtor,
Mhm.
like you don't like you could be an agent without being a realtor.
Yeah, that's
Well-
the only thing difference is paying the national dues.
Yeah, and taking their code of ethics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the same with home inspectors. You can be a home inspector without being a Internachi certified property inspector.
Okay.
It's which we all are, and we
Mhm.
all did that extra schooling, which takes a friggin' lot of time. It really,
Yeah.
it does, and
Yeah.
it's I would encourage everyone who hires a home inspector to hire at least somebody with a credible background, because there is no governing body over a home inspector.
Right.
Once you become one, it's just wild west.
That's so
So-
true. Whereas like realtors, we do have a governing body, and that is
Right.
our association or your local board, and then further one step down from that is the actual broker. So
Yeah.
Right.
anyone who's an agent or a realtor, they have to hang their license with a brokerage,
Right.
and they're the ones that kind of monitor everything that's going on, and then
Yep.
they report the numbers to the local MLS or that board, and the board reports it to the state board, and the state board reports it to the national.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And
how
it's
it kind of goes.
it's not to say the guys who choose not to join, one of these branches, it's not to say they're not good or
Mhm.
anything. They have to do the same continuing hours that we do, but it's just we have a network of universal training and
Mhm.
better resources. It's kind of a no-brainer as home inspection
Mhm.
Yeah.
to join up with something like Internachi, which is the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors.
Wow, it's called Internachi.
Yeah, or
Internachi.
Nachi.org.
Nachi.
Nachi.
That's a very interesting name.
It is.
Yeah, but it's awesome from our perspective because it's basically like an online college
Mhm.
of everything you ever need to know.
Oh.
I mean, it's right there, and
Yeah.
we
That's
pay a
kinda
monthly
badass.
subscription fee to be a member of it.
Okay.
But once you're certified through them, I mean, they handle all of your state licensing and your continuing ed
Right.
and all that stuff.
Okay.
So like as an 8 years as an actual just home inspector, but not right.
So
8 years as an
18. So 3.5
3.5
years
years.
as a Florida licensed home inspector.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. So and then 8 years prior to that, you were
Probably more. Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
definitely well qualified.
Definitely more.
Definitely
Um,
seen
I've
some stuff.
seen. And
Mhm.
like just last year, we did just shy of 600 home inspections and 1,700 insurance inspections.
That's a lot.
So
Wow.
we do a lot. I mean, we're, I just happen to, get with the right people. Aaron Price and Jenny Price with Super Inspection Pros. I mean, they are awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I happened to get in on the ground floor, and
Nice.
Yeah.
Just been running.
Yeah.
it's been right, and it's a great environment, and I'm just happy to be a
Yeah,
part of it.
That's
So-
awesome.
Definitely.
So Marty, what types of, I know we discussed one type of inspection, but what other type of inspections that a homeowner or a buyer should be considering for a single family home?
Right. So it depends on the age of the house.
Okay.
I would say the home inspection to start, right? Let's start with that. If the house has a pool or if it has other, facilities like a boat,
Mhm.
boathouse or a detached garage, we'll
So you'll
worry
inspect
about
those things too.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do. Those are like ancillary services.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
But
that something
let's-
that they have to request, or do you, when you show up, do you say, "Hey, there's a boat dock out here,"
Well,
or you already
we
know
about it. So
you
once they give us the address, our
Yeah.
office team, they go to work on researching permits, looking
Okay.
at the listing,
right?
pulling stuff from, like, we're calling the building department, looking for permits.
Mhm.
So we already know pretty much everything there is to know about the footprint
Mhm.
and what's going on with the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
And so essentially at this point, your
So they
job is to essentially certify and disclose.
yeah, my job's to inform. So you're paying us
Yeah.
for information. I
Mhm.
mean, that's why we're here.
So you're not there to fix anything.
No,
No.
we're just there to identify. I mean, identify and then make you aware of, what's going on with this property,
Mhm.
what could end up costing you money, or what needs to be fixed, or what could be an insurance concern.
Mhm. Something
know-
that could be considered cosmetic versus something that's structural that
Right.
should be addressed.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And how long are your reports typically? Like
you mean pages?
yeah,
Probably like 50
about 50
average.
pages.
Okay.
And a lot of
It's a lot
it's photographs that take up a lot of pages.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And then our software that we use it's not the most flashy, like cutting edge software,
Mhm.
but it's tried and true, and it's easy to read, and
Okay.
it's got a good format to
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some of the
You've seen some reports, and I would
And
say
it's-
it's not like the most like
Mhm.
cutting edge flashy report, but it's very
Right.
understandable.
Well, no matter how you look at it, there's just a ton of information in there. So
Yeah.
it's,
And
I
it's
mean,
everything
but
from
they're pretty
Yeah.
easy to decipher. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
And then
you
we
know-
break it down to a summary page.
right.
Mhm.
So everything that needs attention,
Right.
whether it be just knowing about or fixing,
Right.
we put it on the maintenance summary.
Fixin'.
Fixing.
Fixin'.
Fixin.
Yes. Is that how it's
Needs
spelled in the,
fixin'.
is
That's
that how
what I
you
put.
put in the
Fix it with
report?
apostrophe. Yeah. Make sure you put the apostrophe
Needs
up there.
That's
fixing.
what I put on the report. Needs fixing.
Yeah. Well, that's the Southern way to say it, right? So
All right. So Monica has a really good question. Does a home inspector have access to information or pictures of a flipped home or permits pulled for said property?
If it's available from the like governing department, whether it be the city, and then I normally when I was doing the foreclosure stuff, I was also remodeling, and I did a lot of remodeling. So I have kind of like a pet peeve for flipped houses because I know the
So do
shortcuts
I.
they take.
So do I.
And
Yeah.
when I see on the listing that it's a flipped house, obviously I'm already like on high alert because I
Yeah.
know where they
Yeah.
cut corners.
And
Yeah.
they usually
know.
don't touch the biggest items.
I mean, it's things like granite countertops that aren't even secured to the base. You could just pick them up.
Oh,
like,
geez.
come on, put some silicone under that.
yeah, at least
you know,
something.
Like,
Some of the things that I see a lot are like the flooring and around the
oh
corners.
yeah,
there's
so
Oh,
like
yeah.
crunchy.
closet.
You walk on, it's like
Yeah. Oh, there's that.
Or
Or
they-
they do horrible cuts.
yeah, and
Or
that
they'll do corduroy because they they
Yeah.
never removed the old
Right.
flooring.
Yep.
They
And
didn't
it's-
take up the
it-
baseboards.
Yep.
it makes me mad because you know what? Most of the time, it's like a single mom with 3 kids who's already stretching her budget to buy this place because
Right.
it's nice and she doesn't know how to fix anything.
Yep.
And then she's going to end up with all this repair work,
Yep.
and someone else is going to make a quick buck. And it's just,
Yeah.
And-
that's like my particular button.
Yeah.
that-
And-
Right there.
And I've got some. So Monica, I talked to her earlier today, and she's got kind of a situation like this. I don't know. I can save it for the end if we want to bring it up then. Or
You're talking about it.
so her house that she bought, it was a flipped home, and so it wasn't really anything that the inspector could see. There was basically some of the studs in the wall were just I mean, they're rotten. So the person that flipped it, it was, the contractor came in, they pulled off the siding, they pulled off the drywall, and then they had to have seen, there's no way they couldn't see the studs.
Right.
They just slapped on new drywall and new side. They even put in new insulation and put everything back together. They went, Monica, they were going to put new windows in there, and the window company came out, they were pulling the old one out, and they said, "Hey, your studs they're rotten." So they started investigating a little bit more, and it's destroyed. So they pulled off a layer of the siding. There was like another layer of siding under that. They pulled that off. There's
Oh my
fresh,
God.
like brand new, fresh insulation on this.
So
And
they clearly saw all
So-
the
Yeah,
wood
it's
rot, but they
Band-Aid
didn't address
over
it.
Correct.
Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, Band-Aid
So-
over Band-Aid. Unbelievable.
So I mean, the main question is, I mean, there's more to the story, but the main question is, and like she said, it's not something that a home inspector could have
Yeah,
seen.
We can't
Yeah.
see through
But
it, yeah.
As a person going to buy a house,
What should
like,
you be
how
aware
could
of?
you even
well,
detect something like
in
that?
the state of Florida, our contracts, especially the number one that's being used right now, is as-is contract, and it
Right.
says in that section of Section 12, cancel inspection with the right to cancel. It says you can have any inspection that you wish to have done. So if that part of that is checking studs and you want to rip the drywall off, to see if there's some studs missing. You have that right. However, you have to reimburse the seller if you do not pursue with the purchase of the property because you damaged their property.
Right.
They deserve and they need to be what's the word I'm looking for? Reparations.
Yeah.
There need to be some reparations for that repair.
Right.
So, but it really sucks. And like Monica, to kind of go on about like the whole permits and flips and stuff like that. Permits are permits required by law, or can things get done without permits?
It depends on the municipality, and it depends on what kind of work is being done. You don't need a permit to put in new floors and
or
even cabinets in some areas. But once you start touching pipes, you need a permit. Once you start altering plumbing.
Okay.
And then some areas, and I'm not speaking as a home inspector right now. I'm speaking as someone who did remodeling, because that's how I know this. Like at least where I live, you need a permit just to paint your house. I mean,
really? Wow.
Anything over $500,
right? Yeah.
You know, no, that's even
that's
where I live. You know, if you put up a fence, you need a permit.
It sounds like HOA to me.
Yeah.
No, it's just
I'm kind of teasing, but
depends
on the municipality.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I see HVAC system with no permit. I see new updated plumbing, no permit. The biggest things that I'm aware of that needs and requires permits are essentially the roof and then anything electrical.
Yeah, I would agree with that because those you need to be able to trace back to when they were done.
Yes.
It's not about them being done today. You know, it's about 10 years from now when you're trying to trace back for your insurance reasons. Like, how old is my roof? Well, my roof was done in 2016. Okay.
Where's the permit? Yeah.
You know, let's prove it. Yeah. That's what it comes to when you're dealing with these insurance companies. It's
some of the biggest obstacles that a lot of roofs in Florida got replaced in 2004 from the 2004 hurricanes in 2005. And they allowed no permits to be done.
So that's great. I see that every day, and I've probably seen that 3 times today. And
the insurance companies hate it. They're going to label it as original.
They hate it. And so what I know, you know, looking at my paperwork, our office did their research. They said, hey, no permits on file. So I'm already thinking 05 roof, right?
Right.
No permits on file. Is that, you know, why is there not a roof permit?
Right.
I get there and fits the bill. You know, it's got the right deterioration. It's got the right, you know, granule loss and everything. And then I go in the attic and sure enough, it's got staples. In 2007, we were required to do 2.5-inch AD nails. So I know once I go up there.
Right.
And you see those staples.
It's
like, all right, well, that's old.
So it's probably 05.
Yeah.
You know,
that kind of tells you right
and
there.
that's how it's context clues, you know, that's like, what else can we do? There's not a date stamp on the shingles. Like, you know,
seriously,
you know,
you got to find that one shingle.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like
unfortunately, then you have to come down to deliver the bad news. Like, I'm sorry, you know, this is what you bought.
Right.
Which is saying, and you know, when I'm doing a home inspection, the roof is 13 years old. It looks great, right?
Right.
But look,
lifespan
insurance companies, 15 years, you're done. I mean, you have to start fighting for it.
Oh, yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important for them to know what they're buying. You're buying something that needs fixing.
Fixing.
You know, I spoke to my insurance agent the other day, and it's just to kind of catch up and figure out what's going on with my policy. It just jumped up, and it turns out she's like, well, we had 3 more carriers just leave the state of Florida for this past 2 weeks.
Yep.
And also, everyone is getting hit with paying a little bit for Citizens. Citizens is an emergency state insurance company, and they've written over 1 million policies in the past a year or so. So everyone's got to chip in. If you're a Florida resident, you're having to chip in for that. And I got hit with a tiny little $13 bill for that. But on top of that, my insurance just went up. I think like $35 extra a month, which is not a lot, but there are other people who are in worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my house is.
Oh, you're lucky.
That's what I say. Like, it was because all my systems in my house is still relatively new within the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I got lucky with
what
that.
What age is your home?
I know this. 72.
Is it block?
Yes.
And is what's the age is your roof?
17.
Oh, okay. So you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it was a rehabbed house. It was a flipped house, and they did a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for things, and
That's good. There
I-
are good contractors out there, and there really are.
Yeah.
Flip
Windows,
houses, be
everything.
weary of them because
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
people are making $1. That's the only reason they did it in the first place.
And there
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
really, we're not trying to discount all flippers. Please
right.
understand.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
are good
there are
flippers
really
out
good
there.
flippers, but
Right.
the agent needs to be very well educated on that
Right.
and look for those while you're going all googly eye and how nice
Right.
this is.
I
The
love it.
agent
I
needs
love
to be looking at all the major systems
Yep.
and like open a closet door and look at how cut that wood is
Right.
or
Yeah.
that tile.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
even the bathroom. Is it
Just-
nice
yeah.
and
Just
level?
look at
or
the you know
you
the
know,
level of skill that was put into it.
yeah,
Right.
and you'll see it. The more you look, the
Mhm.
more you'll see it. And
Yeah.
also, like, what about the major systems? And like, is that
Right.
roof a 3-tab? And we'll get into that. Or is
Right.
it? Did they spend money on a new roof?
Right.
Are the windows still single pane,
Right.
crank windows,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
and do they only spend all their money at the kitchen?
Right.
So
And and unfortunately, like in Monica's situation,
That's
a
the-
really
you could never
unfortunate
know
you know,
that.
situation.
the
Yeah.
inside
Yeah,
it
we
was
couldn't.
the
You never
inside
know.
looked fine, but yeah, it was just when they slapped the drywall and then they put the siding on the other side, and
Yeah.
you can't see in
I
there.
don't see why they would try
And
to hide
there's-
that. I mean, it was just a couple 2x4s.
I think
Yeah.
they were just
Like,
trying to honestly
I
because
think
they
it was whoever was hired
bought
to do
it.
the siding.
Yeah.
Just like wanted to keep working and didn't
Yep.
want to get slowed down.
They
so they're
just-
just like, all right.
from what I
slap it in and
understand,
go.
they bought it. Whoever was flipping it, they bought it, and then they just boom, 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 flip, and then put it
Mhm.
right back on the market, as quick as they could. And they just,
Yeah.
it's just putting a band-aid on it and
that's
just
right.
trying to
Passing the
make a
buck.
few bucks,
Yeah.
and then they move on to the next
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
So, Monica, hopefully that kind of cleared things up. I like to hold flippers to an extra level of standard when it comes because there's a document called the seller's property disclosure that they have to fill out. Pretty much, it's a document. It's a checkbox, yes or no, of anything
Right.
material effects not
Right.
readily observable by the buyer.
Yep.
So these flippers, since they never occupy the property, they like to use that
They
as
play
like
dumb.
a get off.
They
get
play
off them.
dumb.
It's just like
right.
you
Yeah.
jackass. You literally
Right.
replaced all the walls. You
They're
said
like,
it in your
Well, but
description.
but they're like, I didn't replace it.
The contractor
person I
did.
hired did.
Right.
Well, who's the owner? You are.
But
So-
here, but
but-
again,
and
the
again,
owner
that's a
can
cop-out.
play.
They could play dumb.
They can
It's-
play
it's-
dumb.
It's a 100% cop
You,
out.
you know,
I
the,
hate
or
it.
the contractor called me and said, "Hey, there's something wrong with your wall. Okay, fix it." I don't, and that's it.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
say, who knows what conversation they
Yeah.
had. However, there's
I-
some other parts of
I
the
can
story,
understand that,
but
like I'm still holding that seller liable because it's your property.
right,
Just like it's like, oh,
That's good.
you let this person
Yeah.
drive your car. Well, guess who's the owner of the car?
Right.
You are.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's
So-
good. That's what separates you from complacent
Yeah.
agents.
And I
you know,
argue it too.
that
It's just like
want to roll over.
you mean to tell me you're gonna take this form and disclose everything that you know and release yourself a liability because you're just told everyone
right,
what it was,
right,
and versus we're not filling this out and leaving
Oh.
yourself to a huge liability
Right.
if it's bad enough.
right. Yeah, like this. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
I just wanted to bring it up just to see. Yeah, you just got to be real vigilant.
Mhm.
Essentially, just looking at
Yeah.
all the little
Yeah.
details. If there's, even if it's not something major like that, but just how they put the
But when
flooring
you're
in, the
shopping for
craftsmanship.
houses and you're looking at houses every day, and I know what it's like. I've been shopping for houses. I know when you walk in, you start envisioning like, all right, this is where I'm going to relax, and then my kids will be running through here, and
Right.
we'll be
Yeah.
cooking dinner
Yep.
here. You don't look or you don't think about the caulking around the windows or the
that's-
Yeah.
squeaky floors,
Right.
or the door that doesn't shut right.
Right.
Yeah,
you don't pay
I like
attention
to
that.
say that that's my job is to
Right.
find all those little things out.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then you bring it up. And then if you want to pursue purchasing the house before an offer gets accepted, let's bring in Marty over
Right.
here, whoever
Right.
your inspector is,
And
and really dive into
Right.
that's it.
this.
A
Right.
good segment to say, yes, home inspections are a little pricey, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But
I don't think
from the buyer's side, on average, you get over 10 times back in negotiations what you pay for the inspection.
Mhm.
I mean, because our job is to find things.
Right.
That's it. We're the negative Nancy's.
Right.
of-
Yeah, people
like
hate
that's
you.
our job
Yeah.
to find
The
things.
sellers.
Oh,
hate
I
you,
see
the insurance
sellers,
Yeah,
companies
everyone
hate
hates
you.
us.
I see sellers, they
I'm
just like they're
surprised I'm sitting here with
cringing.
two realtors drinking
Yeah.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Like I was invited here. Are you kidding me? But no, everyone hates us. But you know what? I can't control the house I
Yeah.
inspected.
But the
Right.
thing is, like, as a buyer, like, pay the $500, the $700 for
Yeah,
the inspection to
whatever.
save $10,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Easily.
You
and
know?
it's just to.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Even if if nothing's wrong with the house, which I feel like I'm not doing a good job, but let's say nothing's wrong with the house. Well, good on you. You know, there's nothing wrong with the house. Sleep at night. You know, I do. So we do.
My favorite sound in the world. We should start adding that.
Like 2 or 3 days ago, I did a home inspection on a new build. Okay. And you can look at our Facebook page, everybody, because this is really interesting. It's Super Inspection Pros.
Yep.
You'll find it on Facebook.
It's actually tagged into the.
It was. Did you see the roof shingles? What I'm talking about? Okay.
No.
The one with.
So it was a new build.
Okay.
This was like 3 days ago after we set this up. So crazy. Never seen this before in my life. The shingles were only on the, up there for a month or so. So many of the tabs of the architectural shingles were folded and bent underneath the layer that precedes them.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of them.
And this is on a new
This
house.
is on a brand new build.
Brand new build.
Is this
And I'm like, how? Right there, that video.
Okay.
If you could, can you cast that to our viewers?
Maybe not cast it, but I'll be able to share it here.
Oh my gosh.
on
I've
the live
never
stream.
seen anything like that in my life. And then I get the contractor that built the house was there during the inspection. And it's not his fault. He's not the roofer. He hired a roofer to do it. But I'm like, hey, go up there and look at this. Like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Oh, we got ripped shingles left.
No,
and
they're
right.
not ripped. They're tucked and folded. And you'll see in
Oh
this
my
part,
God.
you see like
They're
12
everywhere.
of them. They're everywhere. And it's like, how is the guy behind the nail gun putting the shingles down?
Right.
How is he letting this
Oh
fly?
my God.
Wow.
And then how is the building inspector letting it pass? And
Yeah. How many people does it
why it's
go through?
important to hire a home inspector, because even though it's a brand new house, look, people are people. People make mistakes,
Right.
and that's
There's
a
a
roof
difference
that's
between a
going to
mistake
be up
and
there for
negligence.
15
True.
years.
Yeah.
Like, let's fix it right now before you commit and sign on that line.
Right.
So I have a similar story when it came to a new construction roof. I wish I had it would take me forever to pull up the photo. Maybe towards the end of this, when we get it more into the stories, I'll pull it up. And I'm sitting there looking at this roof, and we're about a week away from closing on this new construction. I'm like, I don't like the way this one section, because there's roofs with overhangs, a slight overhang coming off, and it was pretty on one side, all of a sudden just got all jumbled and fucked up. And I'm like, what is happening here? And I called the person that was going to walk through with us. I'm just like, is that right? I'm not a roofer,
Right.
but I've seen a lot of roofs. That doesn't look right.
Right.
And he called over his subcontractor,
Yeah.
and he was just like, yeah, it's fine. It's good. And so I took a photo and I sent it to 3 of my roofers, and different roofers.
Right.
And I was just like, what does this look like to you? And
Yeah.
they're all like, this is jacked up. This is effed up. This slope is wrong, and
Holy
stuff
crap.
like that.
Man.
And so that night, I pretty much screenshotted all the conversations,
Yeah.
and I put an email with the sales agent,
Uh-huh.
the super that did a walkthrough with us, and the next upper management. The next morning, I got an email saying we're replacing it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Man,
Of course you are.
I just went to do a wind mitt at a house that had a new roof installed. Was an older couple living there. Huge house. And I didn't just do it. This was like a year ago. But they had just had the roof installed on the ridges of the roof, which is like where the corners come down and you have the nice pretty little cap that goes on the corner. They used architectural shingles as the cap all the way down. So normally you have
I've
a ridge
seen
cap,
that, but you have
which
a
are folded. But they used architectural. They just took the regular shingles and sliced them and made them, and they're all popping up, and like they're not meant for that at all.
It's supposed to be a ridge thing,
It's supposed to
right?
be a ridge cap.
A ridge cap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I've
a
seen those.
specific tab
Mhm.
that's used for that. But they just sliced architectural shingles
Right.
and fooled the homeowner, who was like an
Yeah.
elderly gentleman.
Oh my
And
God.
I wasn't there to do a home inspection, just for a wind mitt. But I'm like, hey,
Right.
you need to call your roofer and they need to fix that.
Yeah.
Like
Jeez.
that's just,
Absolutely poor craftsmanship.
It's
And like you said, cutting corners, saving a buck.
or like that was probably even harder for them to do. They had to
Right.
slice it. like could
That's
they
so
not
funny.
get the tabs? Like
Yeah.
or what? Like what happened?
Well,
God.
so we're talking a lot about roofs. So did we talk about like the different
Types of roofs?
types of roofs?
No, so we actually need to go back to the different types of inspection. So we did a general, and we talked about the 4-point, the wind mitt. What's important about a wind mitt?
Wind mitigation, right? That's that's for your insurance company to determine how risky is this house in the event of windstorm.
Okay.
Right? What's the wind resistance? So there's 7 criteria for a wind mitigation.
Okay.
There's the age that the house was built in.
Mhm.
So anything after 2001 gets the Florida Building Code credit. There's the geometry of the roof. Is it a hip roof, which is, everything is level all the way around, or is it a gable roof, like TP?
Yeah.
So there's different wind variations for that.
Okay. And depending on what kind of style you have, a hip or a gable or anything else, you
Right.
get additional credits.
And then there's hip roofs that have gable accent or architectural features to them. So it has to have 10% or less of the entire wall perimeter
Mhm.
of the roof
Okay.
to be a gable feature.
Yeah.
There's the age of the shingle. Anything 04 or above will
Mhm.
save you money. The way that the plywood is nailed down. So that's one of the ways we tell it's a 05 roof. It's got staples in it. 07, we had to use 8D ring shank galvanized nails,
Okay.
2.5 inch. So if you have that, that's a savings.
Yeah.
The underlayment, peel and stick. So the roofers will tell you, hey, we could do a synthetic underlayment or we can do peel and stick. Go for the peel and stick. I mean, I don't know what the savings is per year. It's maybe $50 or something. I don't know. I'm not an insurance agent, but it's for the life of the roof.
Right.
So it outweighs or balances the cost of the peel and stick, and it's a much better product. That's
Gotcha.
the layer that's underneath your shingles, so you don't even see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have the roof to wall connection. So what that means is, say you have a gable roof like this, and then your outside wall is right here. Say it's concrete block,
Yeah.
and there's a metal strap that comes out of the block.
Okay.
And it wraps over your truss.
Yeah.
And it's nailed in.
Okay.
And that was done during construction. That's not something that like your roofer does when you're getting a re-roof. That's the way your house was done.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now I'm going to share my screen here in different types of styles. And because there's 2 very popular styles.
You showing it up here?
No, I'm going to show it kind of here. I'm showing everyone else the screen here.
It's not up here.
I'm sharing it now. You
No.
should be able to see it.
I don't see it. It's not going to work.
Do you see it?
Nope.
No? So the video I showed earlier didn't go through.
No.
That's interesting.
And then there's the opening protection. So that is your windows.
Okay.
And this is a big, this leads us to our hurricane versus impact windows, which is something that I have to deal with a lot.
Right.
There's a difference between hurricane rated windows and impact rated windows.
Okay.
Hurricane rated windows are meant to withstand the pressures of 140 mile an hour winds.
That's a lot.
The pressures, right? So we all know when the wind is blowing and you open your door, another door in the back of the house slams shut.
Right.
And that's just like 12 mile an hour winds.
Yeah.
Imagine 120 mile an hour hurricane force winds, right?
That's a
The
lot.
pressure.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important that if one window blows out,
Mhm.
all that pressure comes flowing through the house and it pulls your roof off. That's what all of these things of wind mitigation have to do with.
Yeah, because you have certain tie downs on how the roof
Right.
is.
How is it
attached.
strengthened
to
to
the
the
house.
house?
Yeah.
That's why it's important. It's not my house has been here since 1955 and it's good to go.
Yeah.
No, it's when someone much smarter than me figured out these specific things, and that's what we're looking for.
And so you're looking forward to give better credit and tell you just how shitty your roof is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But you open up a door or you try to shut a door and it's like,
Yep.
boom, you finally get it shut.
Yeah.
Now, like that's not during a hurricane. That's
Quite the
just,
sound
on a
effect you did
Wednesday.
It
there
was a little
too.
bit there. So
Anyways, so then there's hurricane windows. They can withstand the pressure back and forth of a hurricane. Impact rated windows, they're rated to withstand a projectile that gets
Coming
thrown
at the
at that
window.
glass
Yeah.
during a hurricane or
Some
you
kid
know,
playing
and there's-
baseball and
there's always like a gold sticker up in the top of the window.
okay.
And it'll say TAS 101. or something. That's like your typical
Right.
hurricane rated window.
Okay.
But it has to have 201, 202, 203. That's an impact window. And when you knock on it,
Yeah.
it like kind of hurts your knuckle a little bit. It's a
Okay.
solid window.
Yeah.
It's not like ting, ting, ting,
Yeah,
when you knock on it. It's like, ow, ow.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's a good
it's because it's multi-layered. It's got a layer of vinyl in between the glass.
And
So-
there's a lot of these too are also are gas treated.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so there's gas-filled windows,
Mhm.
like argon treated, double pane windows, and those are great windows. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them.
Except for when the seal breaks.
Except for when the seal breaks and you live on the beach and you're paying for the view of the ocean, but all you got it's like a fogged up 1994 Honda Civic back glass.
Getting awfully specific there.
Right.
So
my
what
goodness.
would be another like type of inspection? So we got the women, we got the general. How about the WDO? What is a WDO?
So a WDO, that's wood destroying organism.
Termites.
Go through that. It's more than just termites.
It's more than termites.
No.
Termites. So what that is, and most people hire pest control companies to do that because they're licensed too.
Okay.
We can also do your WDO inspections for you, which saves scheduling 2 different people to come out.
And two
Right.
different costs.
Makes it more streamlined.
Okay.
And we're doing a much more thorough job. Like we're climbing the attic, the crawl space.
So a
The other
pest control
guys,
company
they're
wouldn't-
not doing that. I mean,
what do they do? I mean,
they do a visual inspection.
I
but
see.
Mhm.
I've seen people come around with that long stick and
they bang, they knock.
they're banging on the wall.
Yeah.
So we're
around
looking for hollow
windows edges.
spots and
Okay.
then like termite frass to fall out.
Okay.
It's termite like poop.
Okay.
It's like
Uh-huh.
little black pebbles,
Yeah, like
falls out.
sand, almost like
Yeah.
dark, like black.
like gritty.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, gritty.
Like coffee grind.
Okay, yeah, very very fine
Um,
coffee
Just
grind.
don't put it in your.
But
coffee.
we are probing that house. We
Yeah.
are up in there.
Yeah.
So we already know everything. And
So-
then if we're going to see termites anyways, we're going to disclose it.
Mhm.
So
You have to by law.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that it makes more sense to hire your home inspector to do the WDO.
Mhm. Since you're already there,
Should-
going
We're,
through
we're
it all.
already going balls deep. We're,
Oh
we're
man.
already in there.
Should
I don't know if I can
everybody
say
get
that
a?
live, but
Well, you already did, so I can't. You
No,
can't
take
take it
that.
back.
You can emphasize
Take
it.
it
Right.
back. Balls deep.
I mean, so should everybody get a WDO inspection? So I mean, you got
No,
wood frame,
no, I
you got
don't- I
block
don't-
houses.
I don't think so.
Should you do it for all wood frame houses? I mean,
you should
I
do it for
would.
all VA loans.
It's mandatory by the loan itself to get a WDO,
Right.
Wood destroying organism. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of in agreement. I don't recommend for block homes, protect more so, but definitely wood frame homes 110% of the time.
Well, this is me speaking straight as a home inspector. If there is wood damage, we're going to tell you about it,
Mhm.
yeah,
whether you paid for the WDO or not.
right.
You don't need to give the WDO to your conventional loan officer.
No, yeah, you
You
shouldn't. No.
So you're going to know the same information.
Right.
Yeah, and
So what I'm getting at is VA loans, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what about the type of home? Just as a home buyer, if it's a wood frame home, should I always 100% of the time do a WDO inspection?
I would.
Yeah.
I'll recommend 110% of the time.
Okay. What about a block home? Because I mean, a block home, it's got
No.
brick on, but you got wood up in the
Yeah.
in the
But
attic.
the thing is, you should be able to see the termite trails going up.
Going
the
up.
block.
Yeah.
And then you can see it because when an inspector goes into the attic, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to see the damage,
Right.
and then they're going to be like, hey, there's damage up here. It's not official report per se because you're just not required. but
Right.
he's going to point it out because it has to be in the report.
Right.
And the only thing really you're going to see damage majority of times is going to be the door frames themselves.
Yep.
And so, and that could be majority of the time. My experience is just from water. We're in
Yeah.
Florida.
So to it's not in our best interest to say this, but full transparency. Do you need to turn it into a loan officer?
No.
Yes
No.
or no?
Oh well.
Are you
if
going to
you're
get
a-
the
if you're a
same?
VA,
Are you going to
yes.
get the same information from me regardless? Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, So I mean, yeah, you get it, but then depending on what kind of loan
Yeah.
you got, whether or not it's required, it's up to you whether or not you send it in to them.
Mhm.
So you
And
send. I
typically
mean,
they
and I
inspectors or not inspectors, sorry, loan officers, they don't get inspection reports.
right,
None of them.
right.
Because the moment that gets turned in the eyes of the underwriter, that opens the door for them to want to have stuff fixed.
Yes.
Same thing for the insurance company.
Yeah.
Only give them what they're asking.
Correct.
Don't volunteer your
yeah.
60-page inspection report.
Right.
Because they're going to tear it.
Yeah.
They're going to tear it the hell
And they
up.
don't want to read that anyways.
Yeah,
I
they
had
don't
a
wanna read
home
that.
But,
buyer.
here's the thing.
I had a home buyer that sent the inspection report and he got denied insurance. And he
Yeah.
calls me back and he's like, well, hey, they're not giving me insurance on that. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, well, I sent them the report. And I was like, oh, man. And they started saying, it's like, oh, you need a new AC system. You need this, you need that, you need that.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
problematic for them.
I
It's
called up.
extremely problematic. They don't want
That's
the
the thing with WDOs is it's you need it or you don't need it.
yeah.
I mean, you're getting the same information.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
You
For sure.
don't have to pay for it twice.
What other inspection are we missing? We got WDO, we got the 4-point, we got
So
the
we do
wind
pool
minute.
inspections. We do
Okay.
mold and air quality inspections.
Okay.
So if we're going through our home inspection and we happen to see, we're not licensed mold people,
Mhm.
so we can call it discoloration.
Okay.
Right? If we see discoloration, we can run our machines and then send it off to a lab to verify if it is or isn't mold.
Mhm.
That's a inspection that we can do.
Yeah.
Or we run into people who have family members that have sensitivity to breathing. They have breathing challenges.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people right now with children who just
They're
can't.
like asthmatic or
Yeah.
certain things.
Those
like
little
they want
mold
to know the air.
spores.
That's why we do air quality, and we can do air quality and a mold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're not the same, but
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
tell you both of them.
Yep.
That we can do.
Mhm.
Okay.
Pool inspections. Nope.
Oh, you're being
Got to take
bossed.
the trash
Uh-oh.
out. Tonight's
Time
trash
to
night.
time to do an inspection, huh?
That's hilarious.
You getting your schedule for tomorrow
Yeah.
already?
Yeah.
Do we go in depth with the 4-point? We
think so.
covered a little bit of roof. No, we didn't cover electrical panels.
Electrical panels. Yeah.
Yeah, electrical
Yeah.
panels. Tell us
Yes.
the fun stuff.
You
of
guys
that.
need the insider scoop on electrical panels. All of our realtors watching, you guys need to know this too. The brands that are on the no-fly list, basically.
Okay.
The ones that are going to hang up your deal, whether you're a buyer, a seller, a realtor, you
All
need
that
to
good
know.
stuff.
Federal Pacific. That's the number one. That's the number one panel that insurance companies don't want anything.
Yeah, I've got.
Westinghouse.
Hang on. We might have lost
Wait.
connection. So it seems like you're having. Are we still streaming?
Facebook paused. Like we're kind of stuck right now.
Let's see if it comes back.
Okay, it did. It came
Ah,
back.
Come
we're
back. Are we
We're
back?
We're back.
Okay.
Okay, we
Yeah,
left
and,
off at Federal Pacific.
Well, nobody heard you or heard what you said, so it's all good.
Possible,
well.
yeah. So the top nose of electrical panels.
Right. Federal Pacific, Westinghouse, Challenger, Zinsco, Sylvania,
Bulldog. Yeah.
Bulldog. That's the push. That's my favorite panel, though. I love that panel.
I think those. Are
That's pretty much the bulk of it.
okay. So when it came to some of these panels, what were the biggest
we go.
drawbacks? Why are
Like
they,
why?
or were they discontinued? Or
So I was able to share the screen up here. So I've got some of those brand names, and then just some pictures of the different types of panels up there. You should be able there. It should pop up.
And the biggest identifier is the colored breakers. I mean, that's like
okay, so
when
if
you
you
see like red and blue breakers right away, you're like, okay,
you need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
You need to get that replaced.
yeah.
When it comes to aluminum wiring. Why was aluminum wiring introduced?
Why is it a threat, right?
Yeah.
Or why is it considered a hazard?
Yeah.
So, to my knowledge, which is very small um, compared to the engineering world, um, aluminum wiring was something that we see in the mid 70s. There was a copper shortage, and contractors were just getting whatever they could get, which was aluminum, to finish these houses. The aluminum is more responsive, and it expands and contracts more than copper does.
Right.
So over time, when you have a aluminum wire that's screwed into a breaker and it's shrinking and growing and shrinking and growing, minutely, but over years, it could loosen that or create a void to where it can make a spark.
Okay.
And sparks are the reason, or like voids,
Right.
like a loose connection.
Right.
That's what starts fires.
Yeah.
Don't
So,
need that.
no.
No one needs that shit.
That is the reason
Yeah.
for aluminum being hazardous.
Yep.
There are fixes for that.
Mhm.
There's the Alumicons or the Copalum crimps.
Or like pig ties.
Basically, yeah. They're pig ties on steroids.
Okay.
So they're contained within its own little unit, and then it's like fastened down with a screw, and it's got a protective like silicone covering over
Yeah.
it.
So it prevents that arcing. It's a fluid transition of power.
Yeah, and it's a much more secure than like a wire nut.
Yeah.
So
And it's a lot cheaper alternative versus replacing all of the wires.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna replace the wiring, that's
All,
big deal.
Like
Yeah, all those
$30,000.
outlets and
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
And
big
depending
deal.
on how size of that house is.
So they just have
Right.
to, like, if you're just trying to solve the problem and get over, and I mean, if you have an electrician come out, the Alumicons, it's not cheap,
Is when you see a panel like this that's an older panel, one of those brand names that you mentioned, or if it has like the big colorful breakers, I mean they should all essentially just be like black breakers, just your standard like black breakers. They shouldn't be like a Christmas tree like
They
red.
shouldn't look like Fruit Loops.
Oh, nowadays,
Right.
yeah.
Are you going with the Tagashi over there, huh? All right. Nice.
You've been like rubbing it in my face for the past like 4 shows, so I definitely got to try it.
Well, I mean, it's from over
Japan.
there. Yeah.
From overseas.
But so with all those old panels, is that something, if I see a house that has that, should I just freak out and be like, I'm not buying this house? Or is that
No.
something that's pretty easily fixed?
No, it's easily fixed. I
Okay.
mean, you get your local electrician out there.
Yeah.
In a few hours, they're done.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just something you need to know that is an expense.
Right.
And
And
it's a hurdle, really.
Right.
That's the big thing, is that it's a hurdle.
Right. Yeah.
Is the house going to be fine? Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
but are you going to get insurance and get your loan and get the deal closed? No,
Probably
you're
not. Yeah.
Right.
You're going to get a lot
that's
of
what it
pushback.
comes down
Where,
to.
Yeah.
And that's why it should be on the listing agent to get in front of that before it even becomes an issue.
agreed.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if the seller can take care of it,
Or
awesome.
if they can
not,
put that in the contract, like, hey, we know we have a Federal Pacific panel. Upon closing, Apex Electrical is going to come out and swap the panel at the seller's cost.
Right.
Like, let's just.
Yeah, there escrow holdback. There's a lot of things to do that we can.
If the
get
seller
everyone.
couldn't afford to just fix
Correct.
it
Yeah.
right out
Yeah.
front.
But the insurance company and the lender, the underwriter, has to be okay with an escrow holdback, and a lot of times they're not really.
And I would say, I'm not an agent, but if you know that problem is gonna come up, why scare a buyer away?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
And you got to have that real conversation with the seller. Speaking of sellers, do you recommend like a pre-listing inspection?
as someone who makes their living doing inspections, yeah.
Everybody should
There's
get an
no
inspection,
biasness
right?
in that. What do you
But,
think, Jared? What do you think? Should sellers get a pre-listing inspection?
I think it depends on the house.
I
I
think
mean,
back to what we were saying, it depends on those boxes you want to check on that disclosure form.
yeah,
That's
it's
the reality of it. Do you want to check those boxes or not? Do you want to get in front of the 8-ball and
That's
fix something before
that's gonna
it
be the
becomes
biggest
a deal
thing.
breaker?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
the
should.
biggest sell.
So
Especially when you're like a listing agent. And I'll let you finish. Okay.
well, that's the biggest thing is just trying to get out in front of something before, because when a buyer comes in and they start
it's
doing all
gonna
these
get found
reports,
anyway.
they're gonna find it. They're
Yeah.
gonna, and it makes your house more marketable too. I mean, it's like, hey, I've already got
Or
a home
smooth
inspection.
transaction.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Stress-free.
I've
Yeah.
already fixed some of these
There-
issues.
yeah.
You know, so it's
There's pros and cons though about disclosing
True.
the inspection to
True.
a buyer, because you're allowing them an opportunity to go ahead and start nitpicking as well as beat you up on the
Yeah,
price.
and it's
Right.
and have
not
them stuff
disclosing
done.
it to the buyer. It's
Yeah. Well,
now
thing
that
is-
now that we've told you everything wrong,
Mhm.
your non-disclosure.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, you have to
you have
put
to
it out there
now.
now.
You
So
know that you have
Yeah.
roof leak, that you
It-
have termites, that you have a bad panel. Like
Yeah.
now you have to.
You got to disclose all of it, and
Yeah.
like right, you should like as a listing agent, and
But
those
it's
things
going to
come
come
up.
out anyway. It's going to
Yeah.
come out
Right.
anyway.
yeah.
So
So
Um,
we talked about, so we kind of covered electrical pretty good. You want to
Yeah.
move on to plumbing?
Plumbing.
Because Monica had a question about, you know, she said, what about plumbing inspections? So,
yeah.
so I mean, you do inspections, but how extensive do you get into plumbing? I mean, are you looking for leaks? Are you looking to see if it's, you know,
Right.
everything is connected and it's good? Or are you just looking at what kind of pipes there are?
yeah, we're pretty much limited to what we can see, right?
Okay.
It's a non-invasive inspection, so
Right.
we're limited to what we can see.
Okay.
But what we'll do is we'll run
Go ahead.
all the fixtures, you know,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that everything is draining,
Okay.
and all the supply lines, you know.
Yeah, because
Like-
there's different types of plumbing. There's the supply, and then there's
Yeah, so-
ventilation, and
Yeah, there's the supply which brings your water to you,
Mhm.
and there's the drain which takes it away.
Mhm.
You know, and so we're looking at all that.
right.
Like, is the tub draining slow? So I've had new construction where the tub drains slow, where the tub doesn't even drain, and it's because the guys doing the tile work just
they just
flushed all their grout down the drain.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
And that's a real problem too, because when I've been into so many new construction homes, and during the process, in the middle of it all, and like the tub is just full of just dust,
Yeah,
drywall,
crap.
Yep.
nails, and
Yep.
I'm just like,
And they don't care. It's not their house.
Yeah.
If they have to carry it out to the street to dump it and then carry it back in, that takes time. You know.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They don't bother covering up that thing.
So yeah, Monica, we look at everything that we can physically see.
Mhm.
I mean, beyond that, we can't.
So you don't run like a snake or like a
No.
I mean, if
No,
you wanted to
they're
do
not
something like
plumbers.
that to
No, we
They're
don't
not
run a
plumbers.
scope.
okay.
There are some, and I guess there's some inspectors that run scopes. I mean, they
Yeah.
advertise these snakes, but
right.
you know what? That's
a lot of
beyond
money,
what
though.
we're here to do. We're
Right.
here to see if it drains,
Right.
and if it drains, then we move on.
So
'Cause we
if
have
you you know, say you had like and let's talk about the types of piping, but one of them being cast iron.
Mhm.
Sometime, I mean, that starts to rust
Oh,
out and
it's
have
done.
it'll
issues.
Cast
always
iron's
rust
done.
out.
So, we're
So-
saying cast iron is done. If we see cast iron, we just say, hey, this house has cast iron.
Mhm.
And like I said before, 1972,
Right.
PVC became prevalent.
Right.
So now we already know it's 50 years old, at
Mhm.
least.
Yeah.
At the very newest, cast iron's 50 years old.
Right.
Okay.
It's past. its
But you
life.
would have to hire an actual plumber to come in and really
Redo all
to
that.
scope it. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
scope it
redo
out and to
Yeah.
But we
to
can just
see what the-
say, you know, it's 50 years old of steel pipes in the ground
right.
with water
with
Yeah.
water
and all
It's-
kinds of stuff going
You know,
through
it's
it.
kind of like a buyer beware. Like this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
Caveat enter. Buyer
Caveat.
beware.
Yep.
Might
Uh,
it might be awesome. It might.
Yeah. So not only is galvanized steel, cast iron, but galvanized steel is another one that rusts from the inside out and is no longer being used. What is the golden child of plumbing material?
Copper.
Copper.
I'm a copper fan all day long.
Yeah.
Tried and true.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I am a copper fan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And tell us the problems with polybutylene. Why do insurance run?
Polybutylene.
So I put the picture up on the screen here, and so polybutylene is
That gray
kind of
pipe.
it's the one on the top left, and it's sort of like a gray. It's designated with
It looks
PB.
like PVC.
Yeah,
It looks like PVC.
it does. It
And
does.
here's the distinguisher for polybutylene. If you're not certain, PB 2110 is stamped on all
Okay.
polybutylene.
Oh, there it is. Down
Do
that
you,
image.
do you see it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
PB2110.
Yeah.
Usually when I see a gray pipe with any type of
Yeah.
copper fitting or a type of black fitting, I'm
People
just
are
like
"Oh, it's
polybutylene.
gray." Yeah. Well, yeah, it's dark gray. So there's a light gray that's like a PEX form of it.
Okay.
But the dark gray PB 2110 is the
Always smart.
always
And
and forever.
You were talking earlier that that's still in supply. People are
No,
still.
it's not in supply. It's still out in houses. So
okay.
it was outlawed in like 1995 or 1996. They're not
Mhm.
allowed to even produce it anymore.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
But we see houses, that were built in that time that are fully plumbed. Lots of mobile homes. Lots of
Yeah.
mobile homes have
Yeah.
polybutylene.
That's interesting. Wonder
Yeah.
why that is.
Huh.
Because
Different.
the
It's
time frame.
time
now it's
frame, yeah.
PEX.
time frame and
But you're also saying like a lot of
Different-
like, mobile homes.
different codes for
Just the time
mobile
frames.
homes.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do a mobile home,
Mhm.
high alert, polybutylene, high alert.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
So, what are some of the other material that are good materials?
CPVC,
PVC,
PEX.
PEX.
So not PVC. That's why we specify CPVC
Okay.
is dark yellow. So if you have PVC, which is bright white, it's bigger, it's thicker,
Mhm.
but they can't use that for hot water. Something about the
okay.
hot water breaks down the bond. Whatever. I'm not a scientist. I didn't make the rules.
What?
That's just
What?
That's just
Dang.
what it is.
This whole time, I thought we were talking to a scientist. Holy
We
crap!
were talking to God on chemistry here.
I know.
Yeah.
And then
so
hearing-
what you want's the yellow CPVC,
Okay.
Gotcha.
and
I'm even seeing some homes and replumbing where it's blatant, like this is the hot because it's red and this is the cold
so
because
that's
it's blue.
PEX.
Right.
Yeah, PEX.
That's PEX.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about flex pipes?
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
freaking hate those things.
yeah.
I hate them so much. Like under sinks, and it's like you mean to tell me you couldn't move that pipe 2 inches to the left? You
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Right.
the flex.
Right.
You
So
cheap
we
shit.
have a thing.
Yeah, right.
We call that handyman material.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
what we call that.
I
That's
hate
is it leaking? No, but is it
Can it clog
is
easy?
it right?
Yes.
Right.
Can it
That's
clog
kind of the
easy?
line
Can
you
it start?
gotta walk.
Yeah. It's a thin line.
And then I'm not there to nitpick.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, you want to make sure that you got the right stuff. And as a buyer, walking into a house, these are things that you can check. Usually the spot that I go to is the hot water heater to see
Yes.
what's coming out of the hot water
and what's going into
what's
the
going
hot
or
water.
what's
Yeah.
going in. And sometimes you can look underneath like the kitchen sink or
Yes.
something. You can see what kind of piping is
Mhm.
under there. So as a home buyer, go in, enjoy the house, look at it. But then maybe when you come back for that second look, that's when you start, diving into a little bit more
Right.
details like this, because you haven't necessarily hired, somebody like Marty. You haven't hired an
Right.
inspector.
You haven't decided whether you're ready to go.
But
purchase it, yeah.
These are things that you want to consider before you go in and
Mhm.
put an offer, because that's honestly going to affect your offer price, because it's going to have to be fixed.
Mhm.
So
And that's another thing too. Like the best place to go is honestly the hot water heater, because
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to see what's coming
Yeah.
in
right,
and what's going out.
Yep.
And sometimes you still want to check what's underneath the sinks,
correct,
because they could have like a newer hot water heater.
yep,
And you say, oh,
And
the
they'll-
line going in is new.
yep,
But it's still copper or it's still cast iron,
Right.
still like polybutylene. They
Right.
use a different material at the
Right.
time. And I'm just like, you
Yep.
sneaky,
yeah. They
sneaky,
try to make
Yeah.
it look legit, from the hot water heater.
Yeah.
and
And then also it's really important to check out the supply water coming in, especially in
Yes.
the older homes, because
Yeah.
they still used steel, galvanized steel during that time frame.
Yeah.
Or even cast iron with
Yeah.
the water supply in.
Yeah.
So you gotta watch that. And if you aren't able to change that pipe out, you need to regularly flush your hot water heater.
Yeah.
You need to drain it, turn off the water coming in, drain it,
yep,
get all that sediment out, fill it back up, drain
Absolutely.
it again. You need to do that at least a couple times until you're able to address the actual supply from the street or the meter,
right.
wherever it's coming from.
Yep.
Um,
Well, what do you think? We hit that. We killed that one, huh?
We
Plumbing?
killed that one.
Yeah.
we absolutely killed that
So
one.
I mean, we've talked about like all the different types of inspections, WDO, 4-point wind met, general inspections. Which your general inspection, that's typically what you're going to get as a homeowner, right? So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that's going to kind of cover pretty much everything. And then what they're going to cover is what we've been talking about,
Yeah.
as far as electrical, the plumbing.
Well, speaking of hot water heaters, are you seeing any pushback on insurance companies? Have you experienced it, Jared?
I haven't.
Once it gets to that expiration age of 15 years or so,
Okay.
there's insurance companies that don't want to touch it.
All right. So we know there are recalls, and hell knows regarding electrical and then plumbing. Is there any recalls or anything like that for hot water heaters?
Recalls, no, but the age of them. So they could be
Yeah.
perfectly fine. They could be 2005,
Yeah.
2002,
What? Yeah. 1984.
1982.
Yeah.
They could be fine, but the insurance companies don't want to take the risk.
Right.
And when you look at your water heater, they only say 6-year warranty on them.
It's crazy.
I'm like,
They
are you
last
kidding
so
me?
They do. So I had at my first house that I bought over in Port Orange. I bought it in 2012, 2013, something like that. And it was, let's see, the hot water heater on it. So I had 1984. So I had the hot water heater, and I remember when I bought the house and I was looking at it, I was like, man, that seems really old. And which was fine. I mean, it still worked. The heating.
At the time, the insurance restrictions weren't like
Right. Well, and that's what I was afraid of, is when I was that I wasn't going to be able to get insurance on it, but they didn't say anything about it. So I replaced the element in that thing, and it lasted for the next 4.5 years that I lived, until we sold the house. And this is a 1984 hot water heater. I mean, it looks old, but man, that thing worked like a champ. It never failed on us once. And then I sold it to Marty. So I sold my old house. I sold it to Marty.
Yeah,
That's how you guys met.
And that's
how we met.
That's how we initially met. And so, but then you kept the hot water heater.
So I kept the hot water heater. I sold that house last year.
Yeah.
Kept the hot water heater because it served me fine. But knowing what I know, I replaced it when I listed it.
Right.
So.
Which was a smart move, because somebody's going to hit you on it, or they're not going to be able to get insurance.
1984, it was
even though it worked like a champ.
I'm
Telling you, man, I should have bought that from you.
God,
I would have kept it as my backup.
Yeah. No doubt.
But yeah,
Monica got it.
So what?
Oh,
So horror stories. Horror stories.
Oh, well, we got one more thing to discuss: HVAC systems. Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
What?
HVAC systems.
Oh, we didn't.
No,
I was reading.
There's not much to them. There's not much to talk about.
Nothing.
No
if
they work, they work.
Okay. Well, here's an age-old question: what's the difference between a useful life and still functioning, and then something declared dead? Because a hot water heater, you sold it you were about to sell it at 84. I sold a house with an 84 AC system before.
Right.
And so, but it still worked.
Right.
What's the difference between?
So if something works, so we test everything, heating and cooling, with infrared, right? We check what's called temperature split. That means in the return, what's the temperature that the air is getting pulled in to the unit, and then what temperature is it coming out of your ducts? It's got to be between 14 and 22 degrees.
Okay.
Right. So that's what I'm looking for. If it's within that temperature split
of of difference, right?
Yeah. So
14 degrees
coming out of your, it's like coming out of your vent versus what's getting pulled into the unit.
Okay.
If it meets that criteria, it meets
fine.
that criteria. But there is a useful life for everything.
Right. So eventually
we tell people, yes, the temperature split was within the parameters of 14 and 22.
Right.
The unit appears to be at the end of its life. A unit's life is 12 years.
Right.
Just given a number.
Right.
That's just to prepare somebody for a large expense that may come up.
Yeah.
Because the AC unit, that's a large expense. I mean, that's $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah.
So they need to know, hey, it's working great today. However, it's at the end of its life. It's at the end of its statistical life.
Right. So yeah, but and depending, I mean, there's different brands and stuff that tend to go a little bit that last longer than what the expected life is.
Well, you should also be maintenance and everything. Just how you maintenance a car, you change the oil. You get it once a month. You should be changing out the filter. Once a month, you should be cleaning out that drain line.
Right.
Changing the filter every 3 months, right?
1 month. I change mine every month.
Every 90 days.
Do you have a dog that sheds?
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 dogs.
bro, you should be changing that filter
Nah,
at least once a month,
How
man.
often do you change the oil filter in your hybrid?
What oil? What are you talking about? I don't have a hybrid. It's EV, buddy.
Full EV.
Yeah, that's right.
Full EV.
That's right.
Elon thanks you for your
Yes, he
contribution.
does. He does. He calls me every day. I just don't answer.
That's the most gangster thing you've ever said.
You know
That's
me.
so funny. That is
You're
great.
ghosting them.
That's great.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Okay. So, yeah, every 3 months.
Not
Yeah.
every month for me because my dogs. I got 2 dogs that shed.
We got like little dogs, so
Oh, they're still monsters.
yeah.
They're worse than big dogs. Ankle
They
biters,
bark
man.
loud.
You
Ankle
guys know what you're
biters.
doing? I'm gonna let you handle this. I'll be right back.
All right.
Yeah, take a
enjoy
break,
that.
man. Go for it.
So
Man, they're-
you mean to tell me when you open your AC filter, there's not just matted in hair?
It's not the hair. I mean, it is. There's a lot of dust,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, after 3 months, it's fine.
Yeah, we change ours once a month, man.
Yeah.
Once a month.
But I've always done mine every 90 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Still
know.
works good.
If you, yeah. Well, I mean, it's still a brand new AC
Okay.
because we built the house. So we built it 2019. Yeah, 2019. So it's almost 3 years old.
Okay.
The unit. So it's
Alright.
good.
Our unit's 2017.
Yeah.
So it's good. We get it maintenance every 6 months, right there before winter, right there before summer.
Okay.
So we just got it done just recently.
Yeah.
Everything was working fine.
Yeah.
Nice little tune up.
Yeah.
Runs great.
Well, and that's so you say that. I mean, tune up. That's something that you should be doing. What every
At
like
least
twice
once
a
a
year?
year.
Once a year, twice a
Like,
year.
yeah, it's recommended twice a year,
Yeah.
but
And what is a tune up? I mean, a tune up from what I've priced out. What are they
It's
like?
like
$70,
yeah,
$100
$100 at the
They come
most.
out. They're gonna
Yeah.
clean the coils, check the freon, check
Yeah.
the
top off,
check
the-
everything.
yeah. And if there's something that's an issue, luckily
Yeah.
they found it before it was a catastrophic failure.
Right. Right.
Because last thing you need is to be in the middle of summer and
Oh,
your
man.
shit freezes up.
Well, there's so many bad things that can happen, especially down here in
Mhm.
Florida with the humidity. If your AC goes out,
Yeah.
it's not just it's going to be hot in your house,
Mhm.
but the AC is also sucking out the moisture and the humidity in your
Yeah.
house, and it's
And
spitting it out.
And if you're on the coast, your
So-
lifespan is 6 years because of all the salt just
Right,
destroying it.
right,
And then the
right.
sun.
So, and that's something else that people don't realize is living over on the coast, especially on beachside, it's going to be, yeah, the lifespan of it, the salt water in the air is just mixing with the metal, the
Mhm.
coils,
Yeah.
and everything, and
just-
it's not going to last as long as if you're further inland, like Central Florida, or even where I'm at. I mean, I'm 8 miles from the coast. I'm not on beachside, so it's going to last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And talking about the beachside AC units, that's just your exterior unit. The one that's inside your house in your closet,
Yeah,
that's gonna hold up. But
Yeah. And that's the handler.
the one up the condenser up there, that can only take so much of a beating.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. Just like how cars up north, they get destroyed by the snow and the salt.
Right.
Salt. It's
Yeah.
the salt.
It's the
It's the
salt.
salt coming off
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah.
Marty, I have to say you look a lot more comfortable right now.
Yeah, you do. Relax. Yeah.
yeah.
So because we did whiskey dram style
Yeah.
before this, and you were just like, holy shit. We were giving you the 5th degree.
We
Let's
were,
be
we
honest.
were.
They were drilling me.
We were. So we
was
did it.
pretty much. I mean, look, I'm in interrogation settings. Look at this. I'm pretty
Yeah.
much in like
Well, you're
Interrogation
you're in
land.
the hot seat, man.
Alcatraz over
Yeah,
here. I'm at the head of the table. All eyes on me. They put a spotlight on me.
Right. Let's see. So
why are you ruining people's lives?
But I
Right.
don't even have any whiskey. So
Lies.
so what else? I mean, we talked about HVACs. We talked about plumbing, electrical.
let's talk about hangups. What kind of
Okay.
what kind of hangups have you guys had, if any, from
Hmm.
inspections?
It
Hmm.
really comes down, and I try to educate my buyer long before we actually put offers in and like what inspections
Yeah.
look like. So I actually pull up a horrible inspection and I'll pull up a good inspection. And I say the comparison between the two is that there's always going to be red flags.
Yeah,
There's always going to be
always
something,
something.
wrong.
It's our job.
It's your job. It is your job. And you got to be grateful for them spending 3 hours at home to pick out all this stuff. Now the thing that we have to look out for is what is, and I say this like beyond
Prioritize,
what is prioritized, what is structural, what is working, what's something that's no longer working to its design it's supposed to do, such as like a plumbing.
Right.
It has an active leak.
Right.
It's no longer
It's
doing
not-
what's supposed
yeah.
to. So that's something that we can go back for. But if the inspector comes back and says, you know what, this AC is 15 years old, it's past its useful life, but it's still within its operating efficiency range, then so that's something you can, if you want to go and talk to the seller about, you're not getting it
Right.
replaced.
Yeah.
You might get a small credit or maybe a warranty.
It's just buyer beware.
Yeah, it's
basically.
buyer beware.
That's what
But
it
like
is.
we all agreed to an as-is contract, so you have a right to ask, but the seller has a right to say as is.
Correct.
Yeah.
So those are the types of hangups that I try to educate. But ultimately, if the buyer wants to come back and say, "Hey, I want to get these this electrical," a lot of the electrical outlets or
like GFIs in
the
the kitchen.
GFIs, yes,
Yeah.
those are usually some of the biggest, which I kind of
So
I'm kinda
I
surprised
tell
that people get
buyers,
out.
or I tell buyers too, like, yes, that wasn't a requirement when houses were built.
Mm-hmm.
In certain areas,
what areas predominantly.
just areas where homes are older.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm
like,
sorry.
That wasn't a requirement.
Mhm.
Now it is, and we're required to tell you about it.
Mhm.
If you drop your blender when you're mixing up your margarita in the sink and you fry yourself, and I didn't tell you that it needs to be on a GFI, that's on me. So
Yeah.
but it's just the things that every home has.
Yeah.
But if the buyers don't have the they don't have the concept of what is that and is that a big deal,
Yeah.
that's where we come and soften the blow, and we're like, hey, look, it's just a replacement of the outlet. We're required to tell you about it.
That
And
brings
it's
up
usually like a $20 fix.
that brings up a question that I've had before is liability. So if what's that?
It's immense, yeah, for us.
Yeah. So if what is that like for you guys? I mean, do you have have to carry like insurance? Do you have
yeah?
How does that work? If maybe there could be a house that has just a ton of stuff going on, and
that's why we have to disclose everything. I
right.
mean, because if we don't, we own it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they could be like, "Oh, you didn't tell me that."
So is that just a guarantee that Super Inspection Pros does? Like if we miss something, we will buy the house, or is that like an industry standard? Is that a law that says, if you're inspecting the house and if you miss something, and how bad does it have to be in order for a homeowner to come back and say,
well, that I'm not sure, because it's never gotten that far.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that threat is always there for us, where we do our best to tell you everything there is to know about the house. And we're only at the house for 2.5 hours, and we're expected to know every single thing that does, and could happen to it. Like, when someone else has lived there for 25 years and has all this time to figure out that that window doesn't work right, or this switch doesn't work and that outlet's out.
So you've never gotten a call of like a threatened, like a past
No, we've never had a litigation.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah.
And like when it comes
but
to,
it's a lot. It's a lot that has to be put into writing and certified, and that's why we need our time to put our report together, because our report is concrete.
Right.
In which we get it out. If I inspect a house for you today, we get it out to you tomorrow morning. And that's very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, I got a call on my way home for a 4-point on 24th Street, right down here. And we had them their report by like 10:30 today.
Mhm.
So, and that was at 4:00 in the afternoon.
yesterday.
We get to it next day. And we guarantee 24 hours. So 24 hours from the time we start inspecting, we guarantee you have your report.
Yeah,
well,
that's our big thing.
And that's quick. That's a lot of stuff to review,
quick.
because I've been to some of these inspections with him specifically, and I mean, he's every 2 seconds he's taking a picture. That's why I wanted to ask you. So when you're going around these houses and you're taking pictures of everything, I see you kind of, you'll put your hand,
my
your finger,
fingers or my
and
hands.
then
It's
your
sign
hand. It's all.
language. It's sign language.
Is that
for
what it
me.
is?
Yeah.
You're communicating through the picture.
I'm communicating to me and I'm communicating to our office staff like what I'm doing.
Okay.
So there's certain things like windows,
Okay.
windows that won't stay open, photo like this,
Yeah.
windows that are hard to shut like that,
Oh,
tears in the
wow.
Some
screen.
insider
It's all
secrets
sign
here.
language, so that way when I
Wow.
write
That's
my
so cool.
report and
That
they
is
review it,
really
they see
cool.
Okay.
like, they can see, hey, I see this sign in this thing, but you didn't put it in your report.
I thought
And
you
I'm
were
like,
just
oh my
leaving
gosh,
your
I'm sorry, I
fingerprints
missed it.
everywhere.
Yeah. So you guys creating that little secondary language is like,
Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to,
brilliant.
a systematic report. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether it's $1 million house or a little tiny house. It's the same photo sequence, the same
Yeah.
same pattern. That way the office can recognize it. And
They pretty much know where you're at.
so our
what's going
review,
on.
once
Yeah.
I read it, gets reviewed 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
that way there's no possible misconception or
or
misunderstanding.
we eliminate our exposure as much as we can,
right.
because
Biased opinion. You mean?
no, I mean, we eliminate our risk like of missing something.
Okay.
It's
By having
easy.
multiple people
When you're doing the inspection,
review
doing the
it.
inspection is easy, and taking pictures of problems is easy.
Mhm.
It's at the end of the day when you're tired and you got to put that report together. It's 60 pages, and you're scanning through 200 photos. You might miss one,
Right.
Mhm.
but it gets reviewed.
So when you
Double
have
check.
multiple people
And they're
reviewing
like,
it,
hey,
then
you took a picture of this, which is easy. Like taking
Yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
is the easy part. You didn't put it in your report.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I meant to
You're right.
mention. that
Right,
this,
right.
So it's
Yeah, that's-
our safeguards.
that's
It's
pretty-
our safeguards that we have built in, that separate us from the average inspection
Yeah.
company.
yeah.
I think.
So
That's pretty cool that I didn't realize that's what you were doing, because I've seen you do that before and I've always wondered, and I started this podcast just so I could find that out. And now we can end the
Damn it.
podcast. This is our last show that we're ever going to do, now that I know why he's what he's doing when he
Sign
takes
language.
pictures.
Fun,
Yeah.
It's been fun. I'm just kidding.
But
It took me 10 years to learn that. No, I'm just-
yeah.
Right.
As for hangups though, they come and they go. It really depends on what the buyer wants to. If I'm representing a buyer, it depends on what they're willing to accept and what they want to have addressed.
Yeah.
And if it's within reason or if it's not. Had plenty of opportunities where I was represented the seller, and go through that pre-listing. Like here's
Yeah.
what's going to come up. Here's what's going to come up.
Yeah.
And 8 out of 10 times it actually comes up.
Yeah.
And so they're properly educated to where they can make that decision. I had once in Deltona, the AC was, I represented the seller. The AC was an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and in the middle of the, I think in the middle of the inspection, the inspector walked out and it had frozen, it seized, and there was water all over the ground.
Oh,
And we were like, well, we're not in a position to replace this.
right.
We'll get it operational and we'll buy the buyer a warranty.
Okay.
Is that acceptable? And lo and behold, that's what
That's good. See, that's what
we
that's
find
what,
a creative opportunity.
yeah, creative opportunities.
Right.
And the value of a real estate agent. There's a lot of people who think that you make too much money for not enough time, right? There are people out there who think that,
Yeah.
and
There's valid
and-
reason for that too.
and I agree, but I have a good response to that. Is if someone told me, yeah, Mr. VanDyke, I can sell your house today for $200,000, and it's going to cost you 6%, and it'll be sold today. I'm like, okay. Or they're like, I could sell your house for $200,000. It's going to cost you 6%, and it'll be sold next month. Which one do you want? I want the one right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, so you value the time over, the
Right.
value.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Value
value
time.
of
You
the
see the-
value
you
of
see the
time.
value
I
of
see the
time.
value
Right.
of time, of saving time.
Yeah.
Right.
Because time is money.
Yeah.
But there's also, not to get too further into the commission side of it.
No, it's
but-
not. No,
No,
I don't want to bring that. But
I got you. But time, expensive is cheap and cheap is expensive.
Correct.
We can all agree to that.
Yes.
And so when you have a state or an area that has over 20,000 licensed real estate agents,
saturated. Yeah.
we are completely saturated.
Correct.
Everyone's vying for
Correct.
a piece of the pie,
Yeah.
Right.
and everyone is cutting their shit.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you guys have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's, you know, and we are like a reflection of what's going on in the market, right? Our business is dictated by homes that are moving.
Right.
So everyone thinks that we're super busy. You're super busy right now. The market is crazy. No, the market is not crazy. The market is competitive. Like there's not a lot of houses moving. We don't have a lot of houses to inspect.
Yeah.
It's crazy to be a buyer.
Yeah.
You know,
Because we're just
it's hard to be a
oversaturated.
buyer.
But for the past 2 years, we have seen record sales in terms of the number of sales.
Yep.
Which is good.
Right.
Well, maybe not good,
Well,
but so it kind of shows us that there are actually still there's actually more sellers selling.
Yeah.
But the amount of buyers still grossly outweighs.
it does. It
the amount of
does.
people
I
who were
know.
selling.
And
does.
I
It
left
does.
South Florida to escape the snowbird syndrome
Right.
and got here. And it's, you know, Florida's a great place to live. I
Yeah.
can't hate anybody for wanting to live here.
Right.
I can.
It's, you know,
I can hate on-
Easy now.
I can hate on
It's-
365,000 people.
Those 1,000 people a day
you
that are
know,
coming.
That's a lot of people a day.
I want to live here. And they want to live here.
Right.
And I'm with you. They
Yeah.
have every right. And that's why I am a proponent, as much as I don't like multifamily housing, such as apartment complex. I'm
Right.
a proponent for it because we need it now.
Yeah. Just
And-
preserve our land space.
Yeah.
Well, that too. The economic impact is a lot less in terms of like per square foot.
Right.
Whereas a house that's say 2,000
Single
square
family,
feet
yeah.
and that lot is taking up, 5,000 or 7,000 square foot lot.
Yeah.
That's a huge impact on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
environment versus
Yeah.
I can stick 100 people on 4 floors on a 30,000 foot lot.
Right.
It's a big difference.
It is a big
Yeah.
difference.
So, and nowadays, a lot of municipalities want the first floor to be commercial. So you have your bank, you have a bar,
Yep.
you have a bank.
Yep.
I don't need my car. There you
Yeah.
go. It's helping. That's where it's going.
Yep.
If people want to preserve this land, they got to. It's got to be say goodbye to multifamily or
Yeah.
say goodbye to single family.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Actually,
That's
you
your
know-
next podcast.
Yeah, right?
Bye bye single family.
Yeah.
Bye bye single
Right.
family, and then have instinct playing.
You're not taking my land.
There's actually a city in Washington State that has discontinued single family homes altogether.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
They discontinued it altogether. They're no longer allowed to build single family homes.
I'm
So
not
everything
going.
that's there is pretty much grandfathered in.
Yeah.
At this point. So
I'm just gonna stay where I'm at.
yeah.
I like my single
You're-
family.
You're out in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
No
gonna
fixing
move.
needed.
Yep.
We're gonna Bethany and I are gonna move in the next like say 5-6 years.
Yep.
Maybe
Nice.
a little bit longer. But we went out.
Do we got any questions from the viewers?
We do. So there's Monica's got a couple. One. She said she asked, "Do you know what the terminology quote lemon law actually means in home buying?" Honestly, I've never heard of.
I
lemon
do
law.
not. Yeah.
There's-
I
there's-
think that applies to cars.
So I looked it up just a few minutes ago after where'd it go? And there's a website. What is it? It's on homelight.com. But essentially the short answer was no. And then there's a long article talking about. So the short answer, it's not like a car, I'm guessing,
Sure.
To
I would love
where-
try this.
to where,
You want a fresh
they have a
start?
lemon law
Yeah,
on
you're right,
cars. And if you get one and there's some issues, you can take it back. On a house, I think
Yeah, you can't
it's
take it back.
like you said, caveat emptor. It's
Thank you.
buyer beware. So you have to do all your research. You got to hire inspector. You got to hire whatever you think you
Or-
need to
or-
do to the house. You need to
It's called due diligence.
due diligence. Yes.
Yeah.
So the buyer has to do every bit of due diligence.
Correct.
And thing is that also falls into the buyer's agents and the
Yes,
listing
correct.
agents.
Or
Yes.
the buyer's agent. Yeah.
Yeah, both of them. Everyone
yeah,
involved.
it does.
has to- the
'Cause-
title company always do their.
So-
Take that back. They do their
Yeah.
due diligence.
They do.
as well.
They do. But so and here's something that some people don't realize. If a listing agent, so say you've already the homeowners have already filled out their seller's disclosure, and there's some things that they didn't know, like maybe they've only been in the house for a couple of years. They don't know if it's had any leaks in the past, lifespan or their time frame. They don't know. But then all of a sudden, the listing agent finds a leak. They notice that, hey, there's some stains across the ceiling or something. There's a leak up there.
Right.
Well, now that listing agent, even if she doesn't tell, or she or he doesn't tell the homeowner, the listing agent has to disclose that. They can't just they can't just hold that to themselves.
Mhm.
So there's not necessarily a lemon law, but there's a lot of things that kind of protect legally. Anyways, I mean, you have to pursue them in the court of law when those kind of things happen. But
there's unfortunately there's no like lemon law to where you can make the seller buy it back. You can pay for damages. That's why we're a very litigious society.
Right.
So you can, like, a lot of builders are being sued for poor construction, and it's mainly predominantly in condos and multifamily homes. That's where you see a lot of that happening. And so Monica posted another question here. Is there no way an inspector or an inspection agency can be held responsible for things that cannot be seen? That wouldn't be fair. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And we can't answer that.
We can only inspect what we can see. I mean, that's
unless you're paying someone.
So
like I said
our job
earlier,
is to do a non-invasive visual inspection, and that's why we have people sign a inspection agreement before we even do the inspection.
Mhm.
Right.
You can pay for an invasive one. Like I said earlier, if you want to
Like,
pay for
we're
an
not
inspection
gonna
to
do it. Like,
you have to find a company that's going to be willing to do it.
why would
Correct.
they like what that would be? Why would they do that? Why would they open themselves up to
defective drywall disclosure allows people to don't answer that.
We're doing a show, man.
Unless she's
No,
dying.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
Is it good? You good?
If you need to, you can take that.
Yeah,
I'm
go.
just messing with you. But so there's so any home.
She's like, I'm watching you live.
Oh, okay. Tell her to ask whatever she needs. Tell her to ask in the comments, and we'll answer.
Defective drywall disclosure is for homes between 2001 and 2007.
Yes.
So we were building homes at an alarming rate, as you know, during that time. We had to start importing drywall from other countries.
Yeah, Chinese drywall. Know all about it, specifically in South Florida, and that's where
I saw one popped up on the listing before, and I was like, I am gonna go check this out.
So if anybody listening is from South Florida and knows specifically Parkland or like anywhere in Boca where all the big money houses were being built, you walk in, one sniff, it smells like rotten eggs. And then the dead giveaway is the copper pipes are black. So when you see the copper, the sulfur
turns to copper black.
That's the dead giveaway. Copper pipes are black. Coming out of the wall, they're black.
Yeah.
Going into the AC unit with the little insulation around
Pull
it,
that black.
Interesting.
Straight black.
Huh.
And you're breathing that.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
No thanks.
So the only way to test for that is you cut a foot by foot piece of drywall out. And then you go and have it to a lab to be tested.
Have it tested,
But you can also just stick your head in the attic and push back some of the insulation.
And see if it's got the stamp.
Yeah, see if it's got the stamp.
Right.
Chinese stamp or Ecuador, I think is another one.
You've had to deal with that?
Yeah. Well, not personally, but I saw a property. I was so curious. I saw it. It's like disclosed like this has Chinese drywall. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so going there. I've never seen this. I'm going there.
Man, in my foreclosure days, I probably inspected 15 or 20 fully blown grow houses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fully blown. I mean,
I bet you're blown out of your
walls, like irrigation systems running through the house, plants still there. Like they've already been rated.
Yeah.
That's why they got foreclosed.
Yeah.
They were dumbasses making so much money, but not bothered enough to pay their freaking.
Yeah.
God damn, man. If you guys are going to be criminals, be smart criminals.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's
interesting to see.
That doesn't go together.
Super interesting to see.
I don't know. You could be smart and be a criminal.
I guess.
Just cover all your bases.
I guess.
Just name is Marty. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I've never personally experienced it, but when it comes to like actually testing drywall, you or having an invasive inspection, you can have it. Just be prepared to pay for it after the fact. So
Yeah.
not only are you paying like a couple $100 for that inspection, but you could be
Right.
paying like over
Yeah.
$1,000
Yeah.
just to replace that drywall.
Yeah.
So what we charge for that is $75 per sample. So we'll do a swab
Mhm.
and we'll do a scraping
Mhm.
and bag it, tag it, send it off to a lab. $75 per sample.
Mhm. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also another one, lead-based paint. We all
Yeah.
know anything from
Same
1978.
situation,
Yep.
same situation.
Yeah, and a
Yep.
lot of times, like buyers are like, I kind of tell them just like, listen, you can get this, but being that this home is from the 50s,
Right.
guarantee it. The
Yeah.
only way to get it
It's-
off is you take a pressure washer
Yeah.
and scrape it off down to the block,
Right.
if it is blocked,
Yeah.
Right.
and then you go ahead and you repaint.
Right.
Other than that, you're going to be
Paint over
sucking on that wall like a jawbreaker
Right.
to get to the center,
Right.
right? Just to verify that this is actually lead-based paint, which
Yeah.
it will be.
It will
all right.
be.
So unless you
Yeah.
intend on sucking on that wall, you don't need it. So,
Yeah.
but have you had any other any like horror stories or anything like, maybe not a horror story, but a story that
I'd say
was-
like an encumbrance, like an inspector encumbrance,
it's
where
always an inspector encumbrance.
You-
The inspector himself is an encumbrance.
oh,
Well,
we're a necessity.
You are a necessity. And I love you guys for it.
We're
You guys have saved me guys
we're-
many times.
yeah.
no.
I had this one inspector at this house. They were going through and they were flipping some light switches, and they were, I don't know what the guy was doing, but he was coming in. He'd flip the light switch because it was like a one of those switches that when you hit it, you turn it on. Like it's when you turn it on, it lights up regular lights, and then you turn it off, and then you turn it back on. It like has another little trigger that it turns the lights a different color. So it's like a 3-way switch
Okay.
kind of
That's
thing.
interesting.
And so, the inspector, man, he couldn't get over this. He couldn't, and he kept hitting. And the secondary light that came on is very, very dim. So you didn't actually, unless you really looked at it and paid attention real close, you didn't actually see that light come on. And so he was coming in there, and it's like a push button switch. So he would turn it on. He was like, okay, so watch, they're on. Click, click. He's like, see, it doesn't come on. And then he click, click. See, now it comes on. Now, it's on. I'm like, okay, let's just settle down. And he did it like 5 times. I promise you, for like a good 5 minutes, he was like just honed in, like tunnel
Infatuated with
vision
this.
on this light, just saying there's something wrong. I mean, he was ready to like down the whole electrical system in the house because of this one little switch. I'm like, well, first off, it's a switch. And I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on until after they left. I'm like, let me see what's going on. Clicked it. Oh, it's changing, it's a different light setting on the lights. And
Just like how some of these lights are three-way bulbs. Like you click it,
right.
like high, medium,
Right. Yeah.
low.
Yeah. It was just, but it was just funny how this guy was just so focused on this one little thing about, and he just couldn't figure it out. He couldn't get past it. It took him a while.
Yeah, some
to
of
get
these light
past.
switches that are like really fancy, you push them and like it has like a little light
Yeah.
fader.
Oh,
that
Yeah.
comes on.
The ones
Yeah.
I hate
I
are the
hate
ones that
those
are the
things.
stupid kicker style switches that have like the button where you have to keep pressing
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
like get up and like,
Yeah.
That's so
like,
dumb.
if anything, make it censored to
A
where you
slider.
can slide
Yeah.
it up.
I sold a house recently where every switch had a fader, and these weren't just normal light bulbs. These were like specialty light bulbs. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is frustrating.
Uh.
You have to click it and then like fade it.
Then
And, like,
fade it up.
If you went too high or too fast, the light would flicker.
Flicker,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh my god, this is horrible.
That's annoying. Jeez.
yeah.
Well,
So I
what
had
else?
a horror story that is worth telling.
all right, bring it on.
Crazy.
All right.
And I've seen some stuff. I've already told you guys all the.
Well, you've been doing it for a
foreclosures,
while.
The grow houses.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot. So, a couple months ago, I was inspecting a house in Daytona over by Bethune-Cookman.
Okay.
It was like a 1930s home, very awesome house. And I was like, man, I texted my wife even. I'm like, I'd like to buy this as an investment.
Right.
If it
Right there by the
doesn't-
college and
yeah,
everything.
it was,
Yeah.
it was so beautiful. It was such a very vintage looking house.
Right.
It
Right.
had a guest quarters out back. It was amazing.
Ooh, nice.
It was freaking sweet.
double Airbnb. That
And the
thing.
price, and I was like, are you serious? Like, what is going on? So I start inspecting the house. It's all original, maybe 1930s or something,
Mm-hmm.
almost a 100-year-old house. I'm going through it, and I get upstairs, and I go into the bathroom, and I start doing the bathroom thing, and I flush the toilet, and I hear just a swish from the upstairs, like going through the house,
Oh no.
and then the swish continues.
Where's it
And
going?
then it starts coming from the roof.
What?
Swish starts coming from the roof, and the toilet's still going. And I'm like, what did I do? Holy shit, there's no agent here. Like, I'm the only one here.
Uh-oh.
Like, oh my God, what did I do? Did I
Yeah.
break something? Like, no one's here to see this. And the noise doesn't stop. So I walk like out of the upstairs room
Yeah.
to the bedroom that was the closest.
Okay.
And the exterior, it's an exterior wall upstairs on
Yeah.
like a 1920s,
Yeah.
like vintage stucco type
Hmm.
house.
Okay.
And I start feeling it, and I'm feeling it, and it's like I start hearing like these little mouses running through the wall.
Right.
I'm like, holy shit. And it
There's-
sounds like there's water rushing through the wall. And I'm like, oh my God, I created a leak. Like
Uh-oh.
water's rushing through
Yeah.
the wall.
Yeah.
And I get closer and put my ear on it, and it's like mouses running through the wall.
So the house has mice.
It's like huge. And then it's everywhere. Now that I notice it, I'm like, oh my God, it's like on this wall, it's on this wall. And I'm freaked out right now.
I would be too. I
Because
mean,
it's
if I'm
like
hearing
a
some
19
weird noises like that, holy crap.
1930s house. I'm there by myself. Like the realtors didn't show up. The place
Yeah.
is vacant.
Yep.
It's huge. It's creepy. And I'm,
Yeah.
so I keep going. I'm like, God. And the attic access was right there. It was
Yep.
like right next to all the noise.
Yep.
And the noise was the whole wall from top to bottom.
Right.
Oh my
I
god.
put my hand on the wall, and I can feel
The vibration.
movement.
The
I can feel movement.
feel them
I put my
crawling
ears
around.
in it, and I can hear like rats are
Yeah.
banging in that wall.
Oh my
I
goodness.
can hear.
Ugh.
So I keep going with
Gross.
the inspection, and come to find out, it is a bat infestation.
Oh, a bat.
Oh,
So I
that's so
call
funny.
the realtor halfway
That is
through,
so funny.
and I'm like, "Hey, I can't go in this attic. Like, there's something crazy. Like, the attic access is right here. This
Right.
severe wall to wall, floor to floor.
Right.
If I punch it, it's caving in on me.
Right.
Feeling is coming through.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, hey, they're like, oh yeah, there's a severe bat infestation there.
Oh, they knew
I'm
that.
like,
Oh, they knew
should
about
you
it.
They knew
have
about it.
maybe told me.
That's-
Yeah, before you just poked your head. Imagine you didn't flush the toilet. You just poked your head inside.
Right.
It.
Imagine if I
You're
just
turning
popped
into
up
Morbius
the
right now.
attic,
Yeah.
and then I'm getting freaking.
Just
So-
yeah, you don't need that.
Bombarded. Holy.
Yeah,
Like
this
the-
started
And then-
COVID.
yeah.
I mean, it's to the point
I think that's
where-
how it started.
If you put your hand on it,
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
like
Yeah, you
I
can feel
put my infrared gun on it, the
Yeah.
wall was solid filled.
And screw the
Like,
infrared
there's
gun. I'm
not-
getting a
there's
real
not-
gun.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it. There's not a void in
it.
the wall
Come to the back. Come back to the microphone.
where
brother.
there's not a void in the wall where
Right.
there isn't action.
That's
Yep.
so much bats.
Like I thought it was rats that were just
Yeah, yeah.
in
Just
there.
going at
Like,
it. No,
holy
but it
those
was
crap.
freaking
bats that are
bats.
so they were insulation bats. That was some bat insulation if I
Yeah.
ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So the bats
That's,
were keeping it
yeah,
warm.
home turkey
yeah,
joke.
right.
The bats were-
That's the insulation
Yeah.
right there.
That was some bat
Actually,
insulation.
I think my worst inspection recovery is actually happened last year.
Yeah.
And it actually so funny you said bats because there was a bat problem too. And the inspector, he works closely with an actual pest of all kinds. And so he saw what it looked like.
Pests of all kinds.
Yeah.
Like a pesky guy in the mall.
Yeah,
or,
something like that.
you know,
A
like,
pesky guy.
I don't know.
That's pretty good. That's a good play. But he is. They said, yeah, you have bat dropping. So he called this pest person. And he comes out, and it's like confirms, like, yeah, there's bats based on like what you can see going up into it.
Mm.
And then on top of that, we were able to get the seller to handle the bat because that is something that, regardless of the contract,
Yeah.
you need to address that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was it's a 2-story home.
Yeah.
And the second floor used to have a porch from the master bedroom.
Okay.
They closed off the porch and did not put in an air of any kind. So it ended up just becoming like a cesspool of like just mildew and growth because air wasn't circulating through it. And on top of that, the roof wasn't correctly pitched. So water was coming in from the corner.
Shit.
So if you had the corner just like this, you see here on the screen, it was absolutely covered in like water stains. And as you walked in, you could smell the mold and the mildew.
Damn.
And there was just water stains underneath the carpet.
Damn.
And on top of that, that same outside where the bats were getting through, it's a flat roof. And water was pulling right outside that wall.
Right.
And the water was coming straight in to this room.
Yeah.
And this is a room that is maybe 12 and a half, 13 feet long and about a solid 5.5, 6 feet wide.
Right.
And so it's just like, this needs to go.
Yeah.
How do you recover from this? So not only did we get the seller to agree to get rid of the bats, we also got the seller to reduce the price grossly.
Of course.
How did they get rid of the bats? Because I never got to figure out the ending of my story.
I'm not sure either. I don't know if
so from what I heard is that
I don't know.
I don't know.
From what I heard is that they put a one-way vent, basically, wherever the bats got in, which is obviously from the attic.
That makes sense.
Is that they put a one-way vent where the bats can fly out but can't fly back in.
There's something online called bat magic.
But
it's a bunch of bad card tricks, and they get bored and go away.
I have video of this, and I wish that I could share it with our listeners. Where so I had to go to the bathroom, and I used the bathroom upstairs. And after I flushed the toilet, I heard water running through the walls. Yeah. Water was running through the walls, and I was like, "Holy shit! What did I do?"
But it ended up being the bad.
Yeah. Dude, and it sounds like water running through the walls. Like,
it's so wild.
It sounded like a freaking No, but it was like, dude,
it must have just been the noise
or enough to say that you put your hand on the wall, and anywhere you felt it, there was not enough room for those bats.
Yeah.
That's
to move around, and they were like shaking the walls, and this was such an awesome. It was next to Bethune-Cookman, such an amazing house. I mean,
there is something called a bat door. So you seal up basically all the other entries, and then you have a bat door. And like you said, it's like a one-way. It's a one-way door that they can go out, and then it closes behind them. They can't come back in.
Wow.
But you'd have to keep it sealed off pretty well because they're going to try to come back in.
Oh, for
that's
sure.
their their home.
And their nest is fully embedded.
Oh yeah,
like in a 12-foot wall. Like it was surrounding me. Like it was like surround sound in the walls. Like
that's nuts.
It wasn't just ice. Like it wasn't just right there. It was there.
Yeah,
all the way around.
That's crazy.
And I tell the buyer, and they're like, "Oh, can it be fixed?" And I'm like, I'm not a bad guy.
Can it be fixed? Probably call the pest guy.
I'm not going in the attic.
Batman. Batman. There you go.
Batman. But could it be fixed? Yeah. Do that to demo your house? I don't know.
No, probably. Depending on how bad it is. Holy hell.
How bad it is? That's good. No, there you go. Wait. Oh, dang it. Nope. There it is.
There it is.
Hold on. Okay, there it is.
That's how bad it was.
That's how bad it was.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That was a bad situation.
It was. Yeah, we could go all night on that, right?
All right, what do you say?
We could if we were bats.
Yeah, what do you say we wrap this up, gentlemen?
I think we should. We've been going for almost 2 hours now.
That's a good time.
It's time to wrap it up. So,
Marty, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah,
out,
man.
I really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
It was good.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone that joined us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. If you are in the Volusia County area and you need an inspector, contact Marty VanDyke
at superinspectionpros.com,
where you can do it online. You can schedule an inspection online.
superinspectionpros.com. You can do it online,
or you can call us 386 Super Inspection Pros.
Oh my god.
He's getting crazy now.
We'll be sure to prop it in.
What's the phone number? Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just kidding.
Marty over here is a little loaded. We're gonna make sure wife comes to pick him up.
That's all good. It's all good. But yeah,
I'm just having
I don't
fun.
handle the statistics on all this stuff.
that's all good. No, but I appreciate you coming in and talking about inspections. I know it was a lot to talk about, and
We greatly appreciate your
Yeah,
time, man.
yeah.
And giving us all.
And it's
awesome.
good. Yeah, it's good. I'm glad that we all got the chance to share our knowledge.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So,
All right, guys.
but if you want to listen to, if you decided to fast forward through this whole entire podcast because you wanted to listen to it on audio only, you can do that on Spotify. You like how I got there? Because I know they're going to fast forward sometimes.
A little bit.
A little bit.
So you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, where you can find our dram styles.
Yes.
And then you can also find us on Spotify. What are some of the other podcasts?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and then everything's through Anchor.fm. So basically, there's a feed. So whatever you like to pull your podcast into, you can do it with that. So, and then you can just search in your podcast app or whatever, Whiskey with an Agent.
We're all there.
Yep. So
appreciate everyone. Monica, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Mother, thank you for joining us. Yep.
Mom's there, huh?
Mom chimed in
Hi,
with
Mom.
with her daiquiri.
Hi, Mom. Monica said, you guys are awesome. Thank you for doing this and answering all my dumb questions.
They're not dumb. The only dumb
They're
question is
not
the ones
dumb.
you
Yeah.
don't ask.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. That's what we're here for.
So,
All right, guys.
all right.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.